wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today, but if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right? I'll holla. Peace.
Cosby Jr., the destruction of due process in America. For approximately 2 years now, I have gone on a painstaking quest to investigate the rise and fall of an American icon, Bill Cosby. In the mid-1980s, there was not a star that's high as Cosby. Advertisements with Coca-Cola, Jell-O, Kodak, along with the #1 television show for 5 straight years in a row. On Thursday nights, it was must-see TV on NBC. Cosby resurrected the genre of the traditional family sitcom that was once thought dead by television critics. He did this as a Black American with an all-Black cast and showed mainstream network executives in white America that it was possible to be successful without showing the worst in people. He also demonstrated the power that television had, as it can make younger people dream to be the best that they can be. However, like many celebrity stars, unfortunately, they all come crashing down, sometimes by their own fault, others not so much. In this book, I attempted to highlight certain things. We go in depth into both of his trials in 2017 and 2018, respectively. What if I told you that these criminal trials were politically motivated by an overzealous district attorney? Will you also be shocked to learn the attacks on Mr. Cosby did not start in 2014, but also in the 90s, not long after his attempted quest to purchase a major network? From where did all of these allegations of sexual misconduct come from? Were the accusers telling the truth? In the 2 years of research, with some help from others interested in learning the truth and facts about this case, we discussed both the legal reasons why his prosecution and trial were illegal, unwarranted, and also the possible personal motives as to why this may have occurred. Most importantly, we warn about the dangers of prejudice and why trial by social media, or mainstream media rather, should never be the norm. All this and more in The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America. Available on Amazon this fall in Kindle and paperback format.
The place to be is right here with me. That it was the trailer for my latest book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in the United States. Available soon on Amazon.com. It will be available for pre-order real soon, ladies and gentlemen. You just go to add Commonwealth Cos to look up more information and dates, ladies and gentlemen. But we are back again to discuss the following tonight.
And if you know, the place to be is right here with me. It is Random Topic Tuesdays, only on channel GBoot2786 via Facebook, also on Gavin Richard and Gavin Richard, our YouTube channel, and on GBoot2786 via Twitter. If you're watching through Periscope at Gavin Rich 2786. We shall describe the following tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we'll be talking about this since this is the breaking news. If you remember, on Monday it came out that it is confirmed now. It's not alleged, but it is confirmed that the SCOTUS opinion in a case recently before the Supreme Court will likely overturn Roe v. Wade. Also, we'll be discussing where did the leak come from. Chief Justice John Roberts has called for the Marshal of the Supreme Court to investigate the leak. And also, we'll be discussing the racial elements of this, because I want to know, especially with the impact this will be on Black Americans and also with the upcoming election, because a lot is going on now that we're seeing this come out with some of the things that people are saying. And of course, I'm going to be joined by some special guests, ladies and gentlemen. I will be joined by a man who has been on this show before. He's no stranger. His name is Reverend Clenard Childress of blackgenocide.org, blackgenocide.org. And also, this gentleman as well, Bishop Gerald Scott, who will be joining us as well. And we'll open up some phone lines a little bit later for those of you who are interested in commenting on this, whether you're against it or opposed to it, whether you're against it or you support it, rather, the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I'll be talking with you all to get your comments on that, ladies and gentlemen. In the meantime, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. We're going to pay some dues. Of course, as we start the channel, always, if you would like to support us, you can go and order some Nonnie's Creole seasoning blends, and you go to nonniescreoleblends.com. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Nonnie's goes great with every dish. Bishop was even telling me this morning how he still uses it on his food to this day since he's ordered. He uses it on his ribs, his steaks, his meats, everything. He enjoys it. So you'll enjoy some too if you do that. Also, you can support us, of course, by going to Patreon and get some content that is not here on YouTube. You can also advertise with us if you want to promote your business. We're about promoting Black-owned businesses. Please feel free to email me for rates that we can submit to you. That way we can advertise and promote your channel, ladies and gentlemen. Also, I need you all, if you would like, to please go to our music page and download songs such as Video Soul on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple. And of course, on iTunes, we also have our theme song, ladies and gentlemen, which has got to get on up now. Of course, before we get on down, it's time for us to go ahead and get on up. So let us go ahead and do that, and we will bring our guest in shortly.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll meet. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor.
Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all time. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up
And move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Yeah, gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
What's up, everybody? It's a little early when I hit that camera, but I couldn't help it. What's up? Feel the groove, get on the floor, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to get on up. So, of course, we're going to be talking about our latest developments into the breaking news. This is no longer alleged. This is a leaked draft on the opinion of Roe v. Wade by SCOTUS. I got to say SCOTUS now because some people got confused when I put USSCA and they thought I was talking about the gun rights organization. And I specifically put 2 S's because it's USCCA and I didn't put USCCA, but I can see why people got confused. So I'm making sure I put SCOTUS here. And, you know, when I posted this announcement on my Facebook page, I was inundated all night with notifications with people with their different opinions. Of course, people that firmly and strongly believe in abortion. There are people who believe that it's a woman's right to choose. They are opposed to anybody trying to touch that decision and overturn it. On the flip side, there were also people who are strongly in support of overturning Roe v. Wade. And I'm going to have on some gentlemen who are obviously, I don't like saying anti-abortion because that denotes a negative. They are pro-life. You know, people can say pro-choice. They are pro-life. They prefer to be defined as pro-life. And I've had this gentleman on my channel before, Reverend Clenard Childress. He is the founder of blackgenocide.org. He's also a pastor out in New Jersey. So we're going to bring him on right now. And we're also going to bring in another friend of this channel. And I believe you know him as well, Bishop Reverend Childress, Bishop Gerald Scott. Gentlemen, good evening.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Oh, thank you. Bishop Scott, how you doing? Your mic's muted, Bishop.
Yes, good evening. Good evening. Thank you. I'm anticipating this great conversation with this fine pastor and my good friend Gavin.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I want people, and I want this to, because I know there are going to be people who might get upset that I have people obviously who are pro-life on. What about people who are pro-choice? Well, I don't know too many people that are pro-choice that will come on here. However, I do have a phone line that I will open up later on. And anybody that is pro-choice, anybody that believes in against is not for overturning Roe v. Wade, you are happy to call into the show and talk. So I'll have that. I'll let you know when we'll go live for the phone lines as well. But thank you, God. I got an echo. I think that's you, Bishop.
Oh, is it? Let me see.
Yeah. Okay. I had heard an echo. Pastor Childress, how have you been? I haven't spoken to you in a long time.
Oh, been awful busy. We moved our church to the center of Newark, so we're in the city now, and very much in the city. And it's these last 3 months, and it's been quite a challenge. But so happy for the move. We got to do some resurrecting physically as well as spiritually. So it's a challenge, and I'm ready for the challenge. In my older age, God decided to do this. It would have been nice if it was 20, 30 years ago, but he's doing it now. So I'm just going to roll with that.
Right. I wanted to ask you, so when I saw this come down yesterday, this was in the evening time. I got a notification via LifeSite News and on my email because I'm subscribed to the New York Times. It was a breaking alert that the United States Supreme Court, in a draft opinion, voted to overturn Roe versus Wade. You, Pastor Childress, who have been involved in the pro-life movement, you have a website. Everybody can go there, blackgenocide.org. Pastor Childress was also featured in a documentary called Mafa 21, which talked about the racist history of Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger. And I believe, I'm not sure, that video is still available on YouTube. Do you know, Pastor? Is it still available online?
Yes, that's available. And also PBS surprisingly did a fair documentary on the issue of abortion in the Black community also. So that's on YouTube. They tried to censor it a few times, but it's survived. And I'm grateful for those two presentations.
Right. And Bishop Scott has a show on Wednesdays, a blog talk radio show called Real Talk with the G-Man, which starts at 5 p.m. Eastern. Am I right, Bishop? Bishop, you muted.
No, it's at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
Okay. All right. So 5 o'clock my time. All right.
Right. You're 5 o'clock my time, right?
So, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you all, and before I ask you your opinions on this groundbreaking decision, let's see if we can play a little video from the news on earlier this morning, because of course this broke earlier, about the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. And of course, some people have literally lost their minds. People were I have people, there are people upset. So let's go to let's look at I haven't looked at any of these two, but let's go to ABC News and listen to what they have to say. Copyright disclaimer, I'll put that up in a minute, but let's listen if we can, closely to what they have to say.
More on this. And Michelle, thanks for being here. Justices draft opinions all the time, and sometimes they do change their votes later. Chief Justice John Roberts famously did this in 2012 and narrowly saved the Affordable Care Act from being struck down. So how much stock do you think we should put in this draft?
First, thank you so much for having me on with you. And it is true that justices change votes after draft opinions are written. The drafts change. Sometimes the drafts become milder in their tone and language. Famously, a case, Buck v. Bell, which upheld compulsory sterilization of people who were poor in the United States. That opinion still was horrendous in its final opinion, but it changed over time. So there's some possibility that there would be movement, but this is an unprecedented draft. It's unprecedented that the draft would be leaked, but what it portends, the language that's used by Justice Alito, if this is Justice Alito's opinion here. It is all just really stunning, quite chilling.
And Michelle, what would the immediate impact of this ruling be if this opinion does hold as written in this purported draft?
Well, the opinion would not do away with abortion rights in the United States generally, but it would essentially punt the issue back to states where then states such as Texas, Mississippi, and others that have passed anti-abortion laws or very significant and severe restrictions, those would essentially be allowed to go into effect. At the same time, Congress could pass an act such as the Women's Health Protection Act, which has already been vetted before Congress, passed through the House, but still has not made it through the Senate. That codifies Roe v. Wade, and so Congress could take that action. It's worth noting that Roe v. Wade was a 7-2 opinion, not even close, and that 5 of those 7 justices were Republican appointed. So we see something that is very different in terms of the tenor of the Supreme Court with the justices who are appointed now versus those who were appointed and serving on the court at the time of Roe v. Wade.
So if that happens, and again, it's a big if at this point, but if that does happen, what options are available to women living in a state like the ones you mentioned if they do go ahead and implement full bans on abortion?
Well, there are a number of things that are really concerning because it's not just the bans on abortion that we're going to see coming from these states and that are already being more than hinted at, legislation being curated that would impose civil penalties and also criminal penalties against people who aid and abet a person with terminating a pregnancy. We already see that in Texas with civil penalties, but we'll also see criminal penalties. We saw just very recently in the state of Texas, someone who was arrested and later the charges dropped for her self-medicated abortion. We'll see people receiving pills in the mail, something that is actually not illegal because during the height of the pandemic, people were going to clinics. They were forced to go to clinics to pick up pills, but people are receiving pills in the mail to be able to terminate their pregnancy. And unlike the United States and Europe, that's been a practice that's been going on for several decades already. And there are going to be people who leave those states who come to places like California, Illinois, Colorado to be able to terminate a pregnancy. But that also means having the resources to be able to do so. So this is going to mean that poor women are shut out. And I hope we get to talk about maternal mortality and morbidity because the end result is staring us right in the face, and that are glaring results of maternal mortality and morbidity in the United States when people don't have access to the reproductive health care that they need and want.
And then, Michelle, do you think this could set a precedent for decisions on other issues like same-sex marriage, for example?
Oh, they got to bring that up.
You asked that question too, because this really does open up a door. We have to understand that Roe v. Wade, how it fit into the nation's jurisprudence regarding privacy, autonomy, matters of contraceptive health, etc. And yes, this certainly does open up the door. And in fact, we've already seen the Supreme Court hold this door ajar a bit in a prior case involving Justice Alito writing in the majority. It was a case called Hobby Lobby. And in that case, Justice Alito wrote an opinion, it was a split opinion, that essentially allowed corporations to identify themselves as religious, and those religious corporations then to be able to say that they would deny women who work for them to access certain contraceptions through their insurance programs. That too is absolutely unprecedented, but that was an opinion written by Justice Alito. And so we've already heard that there's members of state legislatures that are ready to go after contraception as well.
And Michelle, sadly, I'm out of time, but I just quickly want to get your take on the leak itself. You said this is unprecedented. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, this is a Supreme Court that's already been chastised for its failure to actually have stronger ethics rules that its justices follow after information coming to light involving Justice Thomas and his wife, Jenny. And so this, I imagine, is sending shock waves through the court for a variety of reasons, both in terms of Justice Thomas and what the information leaked with regard to his wife, Jenny Thomas, or that not even leaked is now public record. And then also in this case, whether it was a justice, a clerk, a secretary, someone involved in the court leaking this, it is just unprecedented.
All right, Michelle Goodwin, great to have you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the
Okay, I'm tired of that clip. But in regards to the leak, and I want to talk about that as well in a little bit. But before I get into the leak, I want to hear from the two gentlemen we have here, because when this story broke, Pastor Childress, you were the first person I thought of. 'Cause I knew you were going to have an opinion. What are your thoughts about, even though it's a draft? Okay, I'm hearing an echo. Is that you, Bishop? Yeah. Okay, that's Bishop. All right. What were your thoughts on this leaked draft that came out? It is a draft. It's not official as of yet, but by all intents and purposes, it looks like the United States Supreme Court is ready to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Well, what you got a hold of, actually Politico got a hold of it. And so, of course, put it out, is when the person who was picked to do the summation after the vote, of the opinion of those who have consented, those who have voted to overturn. And, the vote was actually 3 months ago.
Right,
So,
because it was in February. Right.
This
case is called, and let me, the Supreme Court case is called Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization.
Right.
Right.
And to be honest with you, the spiritual side kind of plays in here, but I got it on tape, and I also have it in January. In January in San Francisco, I said that Roe versus Wade had been overturned, but we must pray for the process to remain overturned. Friday night at the New Jersey Right to Life banquet, I was asked to give the benediction, and that's on tape also. I said Roe versus Wade has already been overturned, but the fight now will be coming back to the states. It wasn't so much the endangering of the process. Certainly, I'm elated about it being overturned. I always felt that it was when the case got there. Remember, it's a Mississippi case. Martin Luther King said Mississippi would be an oasis of truth. He was speaking of the.
Oh, really?
Yes, he most certainly did, and no one alluded to in the Birmingham letter from a Birmingham jail, such as he did when he talked about the early church put away such evils as infanticide. Not to get all into that, it also lets me know we're nearing the end. The sons of former slaves will sit at the table of the sons of former slave owners in harmony. You will see it because he prophesied that. And I want to say the left, the Marxist globalists, are relentless in attacking the Judeo-Christian ethic and attacking even the high court. The lady they gave, and all praise, I'm glad that she's a commentator and all that. She didn't tell you what that leak actually means. It means that the Marxists, the globalists, are going to do whatever they can to put political pressure on the 5, probably, that said yes. This has never happened in 200 years.
No, I want to talk about that leak in a little bit later, but
okay.
You're absolutely right.
So, but yes, I'm elated, but it was kind of, with mixed emotions by the way it came out. They took away the excitement of, okay, someone running across the Supreme Court steps with the decision. They took away the moment, and it was wise. If I was fighting this movement, that would have been a wise thing to do, and didn't have any scruples. That would have been a wise thing to do. Have someone, probably Sotomayor, leaked it, and let's rain
we don't
on
know that for
parade.
sure. It's alleged.
I said probably. I didn't say she. I said probably. So, but we're in a culture war, a war against the sanctity of life. I'm surprised they touched the highest court with these shenanigans. Someone should go to jail. But go ahead.
Right, and you read this decision. They say here, Roe was also egregiously wrong and deeply damaging. For reasons already explained, Roe's constitutional analysis was far outside the bounds of any reasonable interpretation of the various constitutional provisions to which it vaguely pointed. Roe was on
Absolutely.
a Roe was on a collision course with the Constitution from the day it was decided. In case he perpetuated its errors, and the errors do not concern some arcane corner of the law of little importance to the American people. You know, something else is interesting too, Bishop. We're almost 50 years into the decision of Roe v. Wade as well. It was decided in 1973, and we are 2022. I had actually put this up, and I wanted to talk about the racial aspect of it as well, because I believe in this decision, he went and discussed that as well, the impact that it had, if I'm not mistaken, on the Black community. I am seeing already, let me stop the screen, but when I was telling you how some people have lost their minds, I've seen people on Twitter who are now wanting men to come forward. I thought it's not a man's decision, it's a woman's decision. But you see tweets like this from Jamel Hill: a good day to remind the news media that they should talk to and platform Black and brown women when discussing abortion rights. And yes, this unfortunately needs to be said. Well, you know, Jamel Hill, she's been on that feminist train for a while. I mean, look, you said it's a woman's right. Why are we trying to bring men into this? Let's talk about news media. Let's talk about it. A good day to remind the news what coalition. I should correct myself. She doesn't mention men here, but that's probably the problem right there. We don't have men. You don't want men to talk about some of these things because you say man has no choice in it, or shouldn't be involved, even though it takes two to make one. My friend Sean James, he actually put this up. Sean actually said that Professor Blacktrue, before I go to Sean, he says the publication of the official Supreme Court ruling on this Roe v. Wade thing isn't or wasn't supposed to be until June. But seeing how the Dems are ready to go to war over this, like they did the LGBT studies in Florida and Texas's abortion bill, does give me something to say. Watch this space. And Sean wrote this. He said, Dems using the same trick manipulated California voters to stop Gavin Newsom's recall, getting women and simps emotional so they'll go to the polls and vote blue. This wasn't a leak. It was a Hail Mary. But here's something else that disturbed me. Now, Dr. Boyce Watkins was talking about this. Do you know this woman, or have heard of this woman? Her name is Amanda Duarte. Amanda Duarte is a writer for the New York Times. And when this
I can't
hear you.
I can't hear either. He's frozen. He's frozen. He's not even moving. There seems to be a problem on his side, maybe. Now he's just totally out of it.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you well. But now he's totally frozen now. He's meant to come in and come out, come back out of it. Now he's gone. Now he's gone. Now he's gone.
Okay, our host will be right back in just a few minutes. We're here discussing the Roe versus Wade leaked decision. And we're here with Bishop Gerald Scott and myself.
Here he is.
Here he is.
I don't know what happened. Sometimes I get kicked out even on my own stuff. So what I was going to show everybody. Hold on, let me mute you for a second, Bishop. Okay, so I'm back live now. So this is what happened. So a woman by the name of Amanda Duarte wrote this. She is a writer for the New York Times. And she wrote obviously one of the most, to me, one of the most egregious racist things. Now, this is what Malcolm, an example of what Malcolm X said about how the white liberal is even more racist than the white conservative. Now, I don't know if you all can see this. I'm trying to click on it, but I'm having some. Okay, so I want y'all to look at this. Look what she wrote. She says, I do wonder how these white supremacist lawmakers would feel if their little white daughters were raped and impregnated by black men.
Wow.
Now,
she should lose her job.
Yeah. Anybody else would have lost their job by now.
Right.
Now notice she said rape. She didn't say if their white daughters, little white daughters had sex. But the thing little,
Mm-hmm.
one thing too. Like you're trying to say, when I sit here little, it sounds like you're underage.
Yeah, underage minor.
Mm-hmm.
Minor daughter was raped by
But
a black man.
now she, yeah, Bishop, we got to do something with your mic. I'm getting an echo.
Let me come in and come back out. Let me see what happens.
All right. Now she, okay, we'll wait for Bishop to come back out, but she has since issued an apology, like they always do.
Right.
But she said here how sorry she was. She says, and I quote, I said something insanely awful and stupid on Twitter last night. The intent does not matter, so I will not attempt to defend or explain it. It was racist and has had racist impact. I am terribly sorry to anyone and everyone who read it and who were hurt by it. I deleted my account briefly because I wasn't sure of the right thing to do, and I knew that it wasn't and isn't to try to answer for what I said. I know a lot of people are angry and looking to tell me why, so I'm reactivating it because I think it's important. Please know that I am deeply, deeply sorry, and if there's anything I can do to repair damage of this, please do let me know. Thank you. First off, please stop having white children. She wrote that back in November. Jason Whitlock was responding to Raphael Warnock. As a pro-choice pastor, I've always believed that a patient's room is way too small for a woman, her doctor, and the United States government. I'll always fight to protect a woman's right to choose. You notice these black Democrats who, I got a better question, Reverend Warnock, Senator Warnock, what are you thinking about that your district in Atlanta where you have some of the worst, poorest homeless populations in this country? What are you doing to help them? Same thing in Los Angeles with Maxine Waters. Same thing even here in New Orleans. Troy Carter is the representative. They always want to fight for other people's rights, but they don't fight for their own. Don't fight in their communities to try and improve them. You getting on this they getting on this stuff here, and I get it. They're Dems, and they got to support this stuff because I think it was you, Pastor Childress, that told me that wasn't it Jesse Jackson? In order for him to get the Democratic nomination, he had to be pro-abortion. Is that right?
That's absolutely true. He knows that, and it's sad. He once said abortion was black genocide. What happens to a mind of a person and the moral fabric of a nation that can abort a baby without a pang of conscience? Where will we be 20 years from today?
Right.
And the real question was, where would you be on the issue 20 years from the time you said it? And I also might add, he was probably the most eloquent speaker on life that I've heard to date.
Yeah.
But the love of money is the root of all evil.
But this is Amanda Duarte. I want to bring Bishop Scott back in. Hopefully his echo is fine. I hope. Okay, Bishop still has that echo a little bit. Or I don't hear it anymore. Bishop, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so that's better. I think you had an issue with your mic with the volume. But when you read this tweet, Bishop, I want your thoughts. What are your thoughts of this, what she said? And I know you said she should be fired, but I wanted to know if you had more on it. And also, what were your thoughts when you saw that the decision was leaked and was overturning Roe v. Wade?
Well, I'm delighted about it. I didn't like it in '73. I didn't like it. I haven't liked it since then. And the various arguments over the years, challenges over the years, I've always wanted it to be defeated and overturned. My position is very clear on abortion. I'm not a pro-abortionist. I'm not even a sympathizer for abortion in any shape or form. I think what this woman wrote is atrocious as far as I'm concerned. The little white daughters, implying there must have been a little girl, minor girl, 10 years old, 12 years old, 13, of an age that could be pregnant, but certainly not of an age that could be considered mature. And then she was raped and then impregnated by black men. It's very derogatory. And anybody else that would say that would have been fired, taken down, or whatever. But at this point right now, they're trying to push an agenda. And when they try to push their agenda, they look the other way about a lot of infractions that they normally would put a pin in. She's supporting their position, so it's all right with them. It's all right.
She's a writer for the New York Times, and that just tells you also where our media is today. Our media is trying to push, media. There's the actual definition of television is television programming, and that's because it programs the vision of the viewer. You're trying to indoctrinate them to believe something in particular, or align with a certain movement or sympathize with a certain party, like they've done in the last 40, 45 years. With TV shows, for instance. I don't remember this, but this was before my time, but I know that the first show, I believe, to actually support abortion or do an abortion story on air was Maude.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Right.
That's true.
And one of the few
episode.
Right. And one of the few shows that introduced the gay character was All in the Family. They had an episode called Cousin Liz, where Edith's cousin had died, and we found out that the person she was living with was her lover, a woman. And Archie obviously didn't like it, but he gave her a pass, and the woman hugged her, and he said, "Now, doesn't that get a rouse out of you?" So.
And then they had another character there that was transgendered.
Yeah.
Remember the woman that eventually died, and Edith lost her faith in God and all of this type of thing because her friend died. Because he had kissed her, brought her back to life. She needed a CPR.
Yes, right.
And he kissed her. Found out later on that he kissed a man, and of course that was too much for Archie to take. So these issues have always, and this is back in the 70s, because that's when Archie Bunker. This is back in the early 1970s, right, when all of these things took place. So it was moving in that direction even back then. Of course, at our time, and Rev's time, Pastor's time, and my time, they would call pregnancy a woman in the family way. They wouldn't even use the word pregnancy. She'd be a woman in a family way. You see,
expecting.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't.
Lucy
didn't say that.
Right.
Yeah,
right. But they had that even in the Jeffersons when George Jefferson found out that his Navy buddy was now a woman, and he freaked out. I remember an episode of Sanford and Son where they saw Lamont and Rollo going into a gay bar called the Gay Bar.
I remember that one.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah.
And then he realized that it wasn't true. Then they saw Fred was spying on him, and then went into the gay blade himself. And Rollo thought he was. Yeah, it was all crazy. But back then, everybody knew. I think everybody knew it was a joke back then. But now when you look at it, you see they were trying to get you to
Norman Lear. Yeah. That was the plan.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Right. Well, Norman Lear also, he was right. He is one of the most powerful television producers in the 70s.
And those things desensitize people. You get people to laugh at it. It's a joke. It's funny. It desensitizes them to the reality of it all. And they do that deliberately. It's a process. It's a process. You don't just throw something controversial at people. You have to ease them into accepting it. And you do that by making it a joke, funny, something to laugh at, something not to take seriously. This is not serious. It's something to laugh at. And before you know it, the joke is on you.
Yes, and your kids,
and your children's children.
Right.
It's not just a TV show. It's not just entertainment. There's a movement behind it.
No.
Yeah.
There's a thing behind it.
Right. I personally think this woman should be fired. Amanda Duarte. For what she wrote, it was disgusting. It's like what Malcolm X said. It doesn't matter if it's left wing or right wing. It's all on the same bird. That's what I'm saying. This is white. That's my saying. This is white supremacy. What she said.
Yes, it is. It is racist. The movie Birth of a Nation that Woodrow Wilson, the Klan, showed in the White House. It's the same narrative. An aggressive black male going after a white young woman. I am shocked. I'm shocked that she sounds like an African American. It's like a demon is speaking through her, and more or less she is.
But she looks like she's white though.
Oh my God! Well then, wow. Well, there it is. That's even worse now.
Yeah. It looked like she's a white woman.
I thought she was an African American woman. I'm saying, those are narratives that were put out about us. Well, there it is, and she still has it. She still has what was entrenched back when was 1920. I mean,
he thought it was the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He
said it was like thunder riding in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that actually increased the
Klan.
The Klan numbers. But let me talk about this though. Let me just discuss this part too. About the leakage that came out. As Sean stated, he called it wasn't a leak, it was a Hail Mary.
Absolutely.
And what you said, Pastor Childress, I have never heard in my time as a lawyer or even before that in any news story that when a Supreme Court case is being decided of it being leaked before the actual opinion is released to the public. They do their drafts, they do their vote, they vote on it, it circulates, they type it up. Of course, votes do change, but obviously if they voted 5-4, they made a decision on it. Mm-hmm. And why this was leaked, they're saying they want to investigate it. Someone close, this is my theory, it's a theory, but someone that works in the Supreme Court, whether it be a law clerk, whether it be a law clerk or the attorney there or whoever it was, someone that worked in there for SCOTUS, they leaked this.
Mm-hmm.
They set it out, and they did it deliberately, basically because they knew if this was made in June, because around June is when the Supreme Court decisions come out.
Right.
I remember when the Oberfeld decision came out, and I got a breaking alert on my phone, and you can watch on the news NBC doing a special about how same-sex marriage is now legal in the United States. Mm-hmm. And I remember that. And the month of June actually is Pride Month. So that's also a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that was put out there. But so what I'm saying though is that I don't think, this was a Hail Mary. And now they're talking about, they're on the floor and Biden is stating he is not going to oppose a filibuster because they're possibly talking about codifying Roe v. Wade into law.
Sure.
Which is what the next step would be. And they're doing it before the month of June. So, and remember, they do have the control of the Congress right now.
Mm-hmm.
They do have control of Congress, and they have the president to do it. And the president, who is Catholic, by the way, he is pro-abortion. He's pro-choice. So Butterflies wrote, I think men should have total control and prevent unwanted pregnancy with their own bodies.
I think it's being somewhat sarcastic. That's sarcasm?
Butterflies.
Yes.
You said abused or neglected children isn't good either. Jade Matthews wrote, good, murdering babies is not okay. Well,
There's two conflicting opinions. I think.
Yeah.
That's conflicting opinions. But what she's saying is essentially that men should stay out of women's bodies in this because you should have control over unwanted pregnancies. Well,
the woman has a choice whether for the men usually. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
What did Florida Evans say on her show? She said when James talking about the possibility of Thelma getting pregnant by this writer.
No, JJ.
Florida said, well, a man had to be somewhere in the neighborhood of what's happening.
Right. No, it was JJ because they thought JJ had gotten his girlfriend pregnant.
Right.
Yeah.
And they found out it was Thelma's book. And that's what, he's all upset now because it's his daughter and not his son. That's, how fathers are. We're more inclined with them daughters. We don't want them to be messed up. But she said a man had to be somewhere near the scene of the crime. And he is. He's somewhere near. I mean, the whole thing is messed up to me because you first take away the rights of the parents. A lot of these children, these young girls are underage, 15, 16. I had a daughter that's 16 when she got pregnant.
Yeah.
And the people called and was going to tell her that her test was positive and she was indeed pregnant and she wasn't home. So I said, well, what are you calling for? They said, oh, we have something to tell your daughter. We can't tell you. It's against the law. I said, well, I'm going to tell you something. She's coming home to me. And whatever she comes home with, I'm going to have to take care of. So I would advise you to tell me what you were going to tell her, because in the end, it's going to be my responsibility to take care of her and whatever you're going to tell her. So they said, oh, okay. Well, to tell her that the test came out positive and she's going to have a baby. I said, thank you. People don't understand the fact that unless you want this woman to be by herself, without her parents, without the male, you're setting it up for her to decide to have an abortion. You're taking away all her support system. And when you take away all her parents, the father of the baby, they have no say. Then you're leaving it up to her solely to make the decision. And can a child at 15, 16, 20 or 21 years old make that decision for themselves, by themselves, about raising, first of all, having a child, and then raising a child? Yeah. You give the child all the support that child, I mean the mother now, needs to make a rational and the best decision for her and the child. You give her the support system. You don't take away the support system and then only offer up the option, well, you can't take care of it by yourself, so you might well abort it. Well, you took all her support system away.
Yeah,
you took her parents away. You took the father away. Now you say, okay, girl, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
well, I don't know what to do.
The sociological data proves, and this is why Planned Parenthood fights just what you said, that anytime that there is parental notification, the children around, they decide in high percentages to have the child.
Yeah. And my daughter did just that because she had us. She had us to support her.
Now, that's not in every case.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it's not in that. But in most cases, parents don't want their grandbaby to be aborted.
I didn't.
Plain and simple. That's their child. Matter of fact, Dr. Alveda King, who was pregnant in that same scenario you just mentioned, Martin Luther King's father told her face to face, you are not aborting because A.D. King was her father.
Okay.
And Martin Luther King's brother. He said, you are not aborting my grandchild. And she was. She had one previously and was going to abort again. And that's their plan. Because if you continually have abortions, eventually you become sterile. And then when you do try to have babies, many of them miscarry. This is a story that no one talks about. And so African Americans lead the country in miscarriages when we were once having our children in the field. The devil is a liar. Something's going on. Yes. But you've allowed. And look at the governor of Virginia that said, we don't want the parents involved. I said, listen to that demon talk. Thank God he lost to Youngkin and Winsome Sears. But
I think he was running for governor. He wasn't the governor, was he?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's without question. Well, the one before him, the one that was moonwalking, he was just as bad.
Blackface.
Yes.
Al Jolson Jr.
Yes, there you go. You got him.
Yeah, spirit fingers. I'm reading this article. So this is what Chief Justice John Roberts had to say about this breach. He said on Tuesday in a statement that the Supreme Court is blessed to have a workforce, permanent employees and law clerks alike, intensely loyal to the institution and dedicated to the rule of law. Those employees have an exemplary and important tradition of respecting the confidentiality of the judicial process and upholding the trust of the court. The disclosure of the draft opinion was, quote, was a singular and egregious breach of that trust that is an affront to the court and the community of public servants who work here. Roberts added that he had directed the marshal of the court to launch an investigation into the source of the leak, end quote. So that's Chief Justice John Roberts, who obviously was upset about the leak, and he confirmed that the alleged decision was true. And you listen to what that lawyer who was on ABC News said earlier, that the black sister that was on there, who was talking, and they asked her, could this open potential doors? And one of the things I heard is people were complaining about how this could open up, the vote issues with voting rights, issues with bringing back Dred versus Homer versus Plessy and Dred versus Scott. Well, the only thing is that we have it and of course the laws have to be enforced, but it is law now that with the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act that make it illegal to discriminate against someone because of the color of their skin. You also have the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, which was designed and created to give, number one, exterminate slavery. Number two, the 14th Amendment, that was the 13th Amendment. The 14th Amendment giving black citizenship, and the 15th Amendment making it the right to vote. So of course, the states pass laws all the time to challenge these things. However, they cannot take this out of the Constitution unless it is amended by members of Congress. And I can tell you surely, if they did try to put us back in chains, there will be blood in the streets.
Sure.
We are not going back. If that got to
Biden is the only one trying to put us in chains. Gas prices, inflation, and mismanagement of the money. Biden is the one who these are all fake, false narratives to control. What party is about eugenics? The Democrats. What is eugenics? Social engineering. Who wants to control you? Who comes up with the mandates and all the vaccinations and all this nonsense? That's the Democrat. They're not even the Democrat Party. And I'm going to stop calling them that. They're globalist Marxists that have taken over the Democrat Party. This makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. And you should have called me when the Pfizer report came out. But, I can't tell you how I was beat up for saying the things I was saying. Now nobody's saying nothing. Pfizer and Moderna ratted on themselves because they wouldn't let them. It's the same people with the abortion. Man, let me tell you something. That's one thing I have learned. The same people I fought since about when I became an activist, about 97, 98, were the same people involved in the vaccinations, and the same people, Bill
Well,
Gates, Fauci, or this is the same thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't want them to take the channel down. Let's not go down there, Paul.
Okay, all right.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, but I'll put it like this. I find it very interesting. We're out of the pandemic now. All of a sudden, everything is everything. I found that funny because I mean, I've seen that. Yeah, most of it is. You don't hear too much about it anymore. I'll say that much. So, now the next thing after that, of course, is we had the Ukraine issue, Ukraine versus Russia.
Yeah.
Then now, of course, now we're talking about Roe v. Wade, and I'm more interested in what you saw by tweets by Jamel Hill and by some of these other women. This is going to be a way to try and get Black Americans, FBA Americans out to vote and vote Democrat. They're going to use this message. Don't you think this coming November to get us out to get Black people out to vote? And of course, we have Black people who are calling for FBA B1 saying that we're not voting unless you give us some type of tangibles. We want tangibles for our vote. We want something in exchange for it, like you're giving illegal immigrants, like you're giving LGBTQ, like you're giving white women. I had someone who was talking about, well, next is affirmative action is going to be taken off. Affirmative action benefits white women. It don't benefit Black folks. Reality. Someone was saying, well, Brown versus Board of Education is going to be reversed. I said, you do know that we're more segregated now. Our schools are more segregated now, just as much as the time of Brown versus Board of Education. Of course, yes, we don't want to ever go back to that time period. Absolutely. But we segregated now because people go where they're comfortable. People go by what they're familiar with. So I want to just play this, though. This is what Joe Biden had to say, President Biden had to say about the leak decision.
That we're going to have 50 years decide a woman does not have a right to choose within the limits of the Supreme Court decision case. Number one. But even more, equally as profound is the rationale used. And it would mean that every other decision relating to the notion of privacy is thrown into question. I realize this goes back a long way, but one of the debates I had with Robert Bork was whether Griswold versus Connecticut should stand as law. The state of Connecticut said that the privacy of your bedroom, a husband and wife or a couple could not choose to use contraception. To use the contraception was a violation of the law. If the rationale of the decision as released were to be sustained, a whole range of rights are in question. A whole range of rights. And the idea we're letting the states make those decisions, localities. Goes to other basic rights, the right to marry, the right to determine a whole range of things. Because one of the issues that this court, many of the members of the court, a number of the members of the court, have not acknowledged is that there is a right to privacy in our Constitution. I strongly believe there is. I think the decision in Griswold was correct overruling it. I think the decision in Roe was correct because there's a right to privacy. There can be limitations on it, but it cannot be denied.
Do you think that this leak has irreparably changed the court? We've never seen this happen before.
Well, if this decision holds, it's really quite a radical decision. And again, the underlying premise, and again, I've not had a chance to thoroughly go into the report, the decision. But it basically says all the decisions related to your private life, who you marry, whether or not you decide to conceive a child or not, whether or not you can have how you raise a child. What does this do? And does this mean that in Florida they can decide they're going to pass a law saying that same-sex marriage is not permissible? It's against the law in Florida. So there's it's a fundamental shift in American jurisprudence.
Let me say this. Can I say this, Gavin? Because it really, can I say this?
Yeah.
It really bothers me how hypocritical Biden and Democrats are as a whole. He just made a ruling with naturally Obama's prodding about this truth committee, this board, this disinformation board, where he doesn't think things should be private, that he believes that censorship should be imposed. Yet here he now is talking about it's an invasion of privacy. Well, aren't you doing that? Isn't censorship telling me I can't say this or I can't speak that here? You're saying tonight, well, I can't say this because if I do, I'm going to be taken down. That's censorship. Yes. That's intruding on my privacy, my right to speak whatever I want to speak. So when he wants to speak something, it's fine. But when others want to speak, have the same right to speak, they have to be silenced, brought before a board,
right,
brought before the committee, and
Notice he didn't answer the call of the last question. The woman asked, "Did this leak change the court? This basically the sanctity of the court, because we've never seen anything like this before." He didn't answer the question. He was going off about
he always does.
Yeah, what he always does. He sometimes, I remember one time somebody asked him a question about Iraq, and he walked off.
What happened the time he asked him about reparations and he went on to immigration?
Right. By the way, speaking on that news, and I'm going to talk about that Thursday, a court in Tulsa, Oklahoma, they actually, where the Tulsa race riot started, the judge actually said the lawsuit could proceed. So they denied the motion to dismiss by the city of Tulsa. So that's actually some good news. Mm-hmm. Biden went there, President Biden went there last year and sat with those people out in those 3 victims of that race riot who were in their hundreds. And all they did was sing Negro spirituals and do Congo dances and stuff and never promised them any money. But here he's talking about giving $8 billion to Ukraine.
Yeah.
These white, and if you look, Bishop Scott and Reverend Childress, these Ukrainians too, I'm not saying it's all of them, but look at how they're treating blacks, African immigrants that are in the Indian immigrants that are there who are trying to leave.
Right.
Pointing guns at them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry that that's happening to them, but to hell with it. I mean, it's what it is. I'm not of the point where I'm not going to cape for you.
Right. Well, I'm glad Biden was fairly articulate in that particular interview, but the hypocrisy, as Bishop Scott has pointed out, it's just gotten to be so overwhelming. It's not going to work. They've overplayed the race card. It's not going to work on the masses as well as it has before, because the public is finally wising up on it. You could talk about the Comstock laws. You want to keep going back. Yeah, we had some archaic stuff, but let's talk about this law. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all mankind is created equal, endowed by the Creator. That's God, not man, endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, meaning rights you cannot take away. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So it's about whether that's a human being or not. A woman's right to choose, I always say this, is intellectually dishonest to claim a right for yourself and take away the right of somebody else. That's what's happening. That's a person. And a person is a person, no matter how small.
I always say this: fetus, embryo, go-road, whatever you may say it is, it's a process of human life. It's a stage of human life. And I've never seen a woman, and all the women that have ever existed, whether you believe in Eve or whether you don't believe in Eve, there was a first woman somewhere. And I've never seen a woman give birth to anything but another human being, ever. You can't even pick one example. If you could pick one example, a precedent that said, well, there was a woman that gave birth to a chimpanzee, then you may have an argument.
You may have an argument.
You may have an argument. But with the billions of women that have lived on this planet from the beginning of time, not one ever had anything but a human being. So that means from the time, what did Jeremiah in the book of Jeremiah says? Before you entered into your mother's womb.
That's right.
I knew you before you entered there. So what was he talking about? What are you talking about? I knew you when you were a chimpanzee. No, I knew you before. I knew you, Jeremiah. You before you entered into your mother's womb. So to me, my position is this: instead of getting rid of the victim, we need to get rid of the things that victimizes the victim. If you think that child is going to be enter into a life of poverty, well, make provisions so that they don't have to live a life of poverty. If they have some physical disability or some physical challenge, mental challenge, developmental challenge, do things to correct the victimization of the child. Don't throw away the child. Don't throw away the child. It's like throwing away the bathwater.
That's right. That's right.
You know, instead of if you got a dirty shirt, but it's a good shirt, and don't throw away the shirt. Get some more detergent. Get stronger bleach. Put some more water on it. Don't throw away the shirt. The shirt is still good.
My Lord.
That's why 70 says, I'm not for abortion, but it's not for a man to decide. If he wants to have a decision, don't have sex, for a condom or vasectomy. Well, if you don't have sex, that goes for a decision both of them make. I mean, I get what you're saying, but what we're talking about, obviously, and I'm referring to when two people consent. Now, in the case of a woman being raped or even in incest, Bishop, you and I have had this conversation, and Pastor Childress, I'm sure you feel the same. You still say that abortion should be illegal, even if it's in that circumstance.
There's adoption, and I am not. Please, this is one where I think Butterfly or whatever is correct. I don't like answering this because it's impossible for me to empathize with a woman who has been raped and carrying a child for 9 months. I always do say, though, that look at Michelangelo. He's a product of rape and incest. Louis Armstrong is a product of rape and incest. The list is endless. The persons who shared the message with me that won me to be a pro-life activist was a product of rape and incest. Akua Pharaoh in Texas. If you looked at the list of the people who have made and I'm forgetting a lot of them, contributions to society.
Well, Frederick Douglass.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Frederick Douglass. I mean, you could stop right there. So I don't want you to say Frederick Douglass.
Well, I mean, that was expected. And you're talking about in slavery times, the woman did not have a choice. I mean, Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings, we talked about it, Bishop.
Right.
I mean,
that's right.
She was 13. She was a teenager.
I'm looking at somebody right now, Eartha Kitt.
Yes, Eartha Kitt.
Jesse Jackson. Jackson.
Malcolm X. So Malcolm X's mother.
So these are people that we know that are contemporaries. We know these people. Paps and I were alive when all of them, including Eartha Kitt, was alive.
And Malcolm, when I went to the second Million Man, and we were not protesting, we had set up our signs outside. He knew we were coming. He never told us not to come. He never told us to come.
About Farrakhan?
Yes, Louis Farrakhan. And while we were there in Washington, he talked about how his mother tried to abort him 3 times.
Right, I remember that.
And on the 3rd time, she just said, well, I guess he's just supposed to be here. So
my wife Teresa, her mother tried to abort her. She put a hanger,
That's what she was doing. I don't even like saying it, but that's what
up in a private part, and did everything she could do. I mean, she kept on prodding, thinking that she would once again. See, God's the final word in it all when it comes down to it. In cases like that, God's still the final word.
Yes.
Now here, my wife will be 58 on Friday.
Oh, God bless.
Happy birthday. Hello, happy birthday.
I will get, but so I mean, look what she's had 3 children. She has 3 grandchildren. She married me. She helped me raise my daughter. I mean, the thing that she's done, she's a minister. She's helped people. She's been a school teacher. She's been an administrator. All of that would have been null and void,
right,
if her mother was successful. I believe some of her health issues are products of that attempt, because she has stomach problems. She has things, being able to digest and all of that type of thing. That could have been a product of all of that prodding, but nevertheless, she had a valued life, and I thank God for Nell Carter is another one.
Nell Carter, that's correct.
Nell Carter,
yeah.
Ethel Waters.
Ethel
Waters.
That's the one. Ethel Waters,
another,
who Billy Graham picked out to sing for his ministry. Right. Ethel Waters.
His Eyes on the Sparrow. You know,
as a matter of fact,
movies she made.
One of the I would say this too. I'm going to bring this back, but if you know the case of Jane Roe versus Wade, there's also another case called Doe v. Bolton I talked about, and that was a Opto FN made a good point. A man definitely has the right to decide if a woman can ask for his support monetarily, then his decision should count. If the baby lives, the law will say that the father must provide. That is true in terms of child support. But I wrote this here. I shared this article. So this is when Norma McCorvey died back in 2017. Mm-hmm. She died at 69 years old. Now, her attorneys, what a lot of people don't know, they used the story to sympathize with her and make it obviously more acceptable to the public that she was the product of a gang rape by black men. Her baby, her pregnancy. But then we found out later she lied.
She lied, right.
And it wasn't just her. They did this even with NARAL when they talked about the numbers, the accurate numbers of women who were raped and so forth. Dr. Bernard Nathanson, who had performed abortions, he became later on a pro-life advocate. Mm-hmm. He made the movie called A Silent Scream. Mm-hmm. And I'll talk about that in a second. But Norma McCorvey was her real name. She died in 2017. Now, before she died, a lot of people don't know this, but her baby actually survived. She didn't abort the child.
No.
The baby actually lived. Mm-hmm. And you can see who's right there next to her. That's Gloria Allred, the woman that went after Cosby. She has a habit of going after Cosby. She went after Tyson. She went after Michael Jackson.
Any man.
Or any black man in particular.
Yeah.
She likes to get money.
With money.
But she lied. And you can look at this article here. It says key abortion plaintiff now denies she was raped. Now, she's not alone in this, but the woman who was also known as Jane Doe in Doe versus Bolton. Now, a lot of people don't know what Doe versus Bolton is. I talked about it yesterday, but Doe versus Bolton, that was a key Supreme Court case that was called a companion case with Roe versus Wade. Mm-hmm. And Doe v. Bolton, which was in Georgia, and Roe versus Wade, which was in Texas, Roe v. Wade struck down abortion laws, saying under the concept of the fundamental right to privacy. However, what Bolton did, Doe versus Bolton, that allowed abortion for any reason when they talked about the term health of the mother, mm-hmm. because Georgia had a law about if it was in the case of rape and incest or if it was for the health of the mother. Well, they said that could be a universe. They basically made it a very vague term. So it means you could get an abortion for any reason, essentially under that doctrine. So there was not for 9 months. Mm-hmm. And even in some circumstances, and Reverend, you've talked about this. I want to ask you this. Who was the state senator that voted against the Illinois law that would have protected late-term children that were survived late-term abortions?
The only one, and that's Barack.
He had that distinction.
Yeah, Barack Obama, basically. He said, and was asked if a child survives and is on the table waiting for help or in need of help, what should happen with that child? He said, if the mother's decision was for the child to die, the child should die. And he's the only person that voted. Even Planned Parenthood at that time tried to back out. That was in Illinois. Yeah, he tried to back out of it, but he was adamant. He tried to explain later it was a vote of principle, but I was surprised that never really came up.
What is late term? for those that don't know, what is late-term abortion?
Well, for late-term abortion is any time prior to birth. In New Jersey, it could be the day before you can abort the child, the day before the child is due. So late term means late term. The last trimester, people would like to put that frame on it. But to me, I think people should know that in New Jersey and Maryland, New York, it could be the day before you're supposed to give birth. Most people don't know that. Right. And in fact, we set up in New York on the streets one time, and the young lady said to me, you shouldn't show that picture of an aborted child because everybody knows you can't have an abortion in New York after 3 months. I said, oh, really? Is that right? And the discussions, but we're hidden from the horror and the evil of abortion. But that is the law, and that's why these programs are important.
Sure. Now I want you to look at this, and I'm going to open the phone lines up because I want people who do agree or disagree with overturning Roe v. Wade to call in. I'm not going to be upset or judge you or anything of that nature, but I like to have your opinion. And I'm putting a poll up right now. Should Roe v. Wade be overturned? Yes or no? Yesterday, I did this yesterday. I had majority yeses, about 89%. Now I'm going to put it up again. So I'm going to ask the community, should it be overturned? And we're going to look at the votes in a second. But I'm opening the phone lines in a minute. But this is the article here. Norman McCorvey, the Jane Roe and Roe v. Wade, came in an interview with the syndicated newspaper columnist Carl T. Rowan. And this is in 1987. The interview conducted in Dallas. She admitted that she had fabricated her account of being raped by 3 men and a woman in 1969 because she had hoped to circumvent a 100-year-old law in Texas that banned abortions when the woman's life was in danger. What I thought was love. Miss McCormick said that she had actually became pregnant through what I thought was love, and she decided to challenge the state law when her doctor told her that she could not legally have an abortion in Texas. So in 1970, she had her lawyers file a federal suit against Henry Wade, who was the Dallas County District Attorney, to protect her anonymity. She identified herself as Jane Roe, and this decision was upheld by the Supreme Court, which legalized abortion on January 22nd, 1973, citing the 14th Amendment's privacy protections. So,
also, we should mention, in all fairness, she later became a pro-life activist.
She did, but then if you saw subsequently, she did a documentary saying that she was paid to do that.
She was at that point dementia. She has begun to drift prior to, and she was also, which is a lot of case in this movement, she needed the money. So they did that documentary. They paid her well. I mean, the other side paid her very well, and she needed money at the time, but she was also suffering from she was delusional at that time.
Have either one of you heard the California bill AB 2223?
I don't know it by number, but I probably have heard what it wants to do.
Yeah, it wants to allow for.
I believe it's the same law in New Jersey under another number, but go ahead. It was called the Freedom of Production Act. That's what it was called here in New Jersey. I don't know what it's called out there. But.
Well, it's set for April the 22nd, which was a few days ago, not long ago, that a child can actually be killed 7 days after its birth.
Maryland has the same bill. Theirs is 28 days.
Wow. 20 after birth.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Right. Well, I'm looking at this.
That's murder. I mean, the child's born now. The child's born. You're going to kill him?
Right. So I got to point this out, though, to what you said, Reverend Childress. The documentary was called AKA Jane Roe. And she stated describing McCorvey's life and the financial incentives to change her views on abortion. And in an interview conducted for the film shortly before her death, in which she just referred to as her deathbed confession, McCorvey said her anti-abortion activism had all been an act, which she did because she was paid, stating she did not care whether a woman got an abortion. Quote, I was the big fish. I think it was a mutual thing. I took their money and they put me out in front of the cameras and tell me what to say. So I'm going through here. Robert Schneck, an evangelical pastor who worked with McCorvey, supported what was in the documentary. He acknowledged that his group had paid McCorvey to speak against abortion and stated, her name and photo would command some of the largest windfalls of dollars from my group and many others, but the money we gave her was modest.
Yeah.
So it says, according to tax documents, McCorvey received at least $450,000 from anti-abortion groups during her years as an activist. Schneck stated that he was surprised that McCorvey said that she was pro-choice, although he had said that he knew she harbored doubts about the pro-life message she was telegraphing. Now,
who was the name of that person?
The pastor, Robert Schneck.
Okay, he was on the peripheral, and I'm not going to denounce, or you don't have to, in other words, he can't hear him. Flip Benham was the person who went to her, she converted. Then when the financial side of this does play a role. And I'm not saying everything she said. She was delusional. I know a person who worked with her. His name is, he doesn't mind, Hector Ferreira. You can have him. He traveled with her wherever she went. She said she was getting kind of flaky towards the end. But Flip Benham, who is an evangelical, converted her to Christianity. Then she went into the Catholic community.
Right.
And she
died a Catholic, apparently.
Right. And yes, there's a far more better cash flow amongst the Catholic for this work.
Of course, we do.
But she was, she was very effective.
Well, let me write what Pastor Father Pavone wrote. He later wrote, so abortion supporters are claiming Norma McCorvey, the Jane Roe of Roe versus Wade, wasn't sincere in her conversion. He says she was. I was a spiritual guide for 22 years, received her into the Catholic Church, kept regular contact, spoke with her the day she died, and conducted her funeral. And Abby Johnson, who worked for Planned Parenthood before joining the anti-abortion movement, said that McCorvey called her on the phone days before her death to express remorse for abortion. Johnson said that she believed McCorvey was a damaged woman who should not have been thrust into the spotlight so quickly after turning against abortion. I don't have any problem believing in that in the last year of her life that she tried to convince herself abortion was okay. But I know at the end of her life, she did not believe that, she said. So
no, I know Abby very well. I know Father Frank and I sit on the board together for his I'm in the circle of pastors that he oversees in Washington, D.C. And he's accurate, and Father tells the truth. and Amy Johnson, she's the former CEO of Planned Parenthood. And I forgot the name of the film. I'm embarrassed.
She's from
Unplanned. That's her. That's Amy. That's the one. And once again, I didn't talk at length the couple of times that I was in her presence. We did have conversations. She was sincere about what she was doing, but I think there may have been some abuse there. I don't want to be the one to say something. Towards the end, she was going through a lot of stuff,
right?
And so she may have needed the money. I don't know. I don't trust the other side when it comes to this. But
and let me say this. Go ahead. Just finish your sentence right quick because I got to move on.
No, go ahead. No, that's it. I trust Amy right. and Frank.
Norma McCorvey is actually from Louisiana. She grew up in Avonlea Parish Simesport, Louisiana. That's where she was born. And the woman you see here, I showed you this. This is Jane Doe. Her name is Sandra Cano.
Mm-hmm.
She even said, now in that case, Doe versus Bolton, she stated she filed a motion to reopen the case, claiming that she had not been aware that the case had been filed on her behalf, and if she had known, she would not have supported the litigation. Of course, the Supreme Court denied to hear her case, and she died in 2014. But she became part of the pro-life movement, so she was upset about it. But you have a lot of deceit that's going on here. Now, I'm gonna bring in Brother Bernard briefly. Brother Bernard, good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, be brief, brother, but speak your piece.
Oh, I just wanted to say I'm glad you did this show and this thing tonight. And how you doing, Bishop and Mr. Chip? I'm doing fine. Yeah, Gavin, I don't know what's going on. I didn't see the email, but I'm glad you sent me a chat email. But I wanted to say this. There seems to be a lot of, like, I would say, indiscrepancies here. I don't think people don't read anymore. I don't know what it is. Gavin's a lawyer. I'm not. I just read and research. But this thing with this Roe versus Wade thing, it never said that they were going to end abortion. That's the lie that they tell these feminists and these clown shows all the time, that it's going to end it. No, it just says that we're going to turn it back to the states, which should be done anyway. That's because what affect Gavin in Louisiana may not affect me in Richmond, Virginia. As a matter of fact, in New Orleans, even in New Orleans, what affect him in New Orleans is not going to affect him in every part of Louisiana, Angola, Baton Rouge, you name it. Everything is not the same, local politics, whatever. So that's why people don't even understand the basic nature of their own politics. It's just very mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. And I might add, and that's what the commentator that you played earlier, the judge, she basically did not say that now the people will decide, not 5 or 6 white males or people in a court. It will be legislated by the states. The people will have more of a say. And that's because the first time around, when it fitted the world order, you just basically, the people did it without any caucus or consent. It was done. That won't be the case now. When it goes back to the states, the people will have far more a say in what goes on. And I think that's going to be a good thing.
I want to show some. I won't play all of this. It is very graphic, but this is a clip from the film The Silent Scream. The gentleman you see here is Dr. Bernard Nathanson. Bernard Nathanson was an outspoken proponent at one time for a group abortion, and including NARAL. And he actually performs dozens of abortions himself. One day, during his practice, as he was performing an abortion, he used an ultrasound to perform it in the 1970s. And he had the chance to observe a real-time abortion, and it changed his mind. He's often quoted as saying that abortion is the most atrocious Holocaust in the history of the United States. He wrote a book called Aborting America, in which he discussed what he called the dishonest beginnings of the abortion movement. Now, Dr. Nathanson died in 2011 at the age of 84. And he was survived by his son Joseph and his fourth wife, Christine Reisner Nathanson, whom he married in the church after his baptism in 1996. He became a convert to Catholicism. And obviously, he stated in 1974, he wrote, "I'm deeply troubled by my own increasing certainty that I had, in fact, presided over 60,000 deaths."
Yes, that's right.
He even performed an abortion on his own child. According to this Wikipedia page. But he became an outspoken proponent for the pro-life movement. And he made this film called The Silent Scream. Now, I will not play it because I won't play all of it. It is graphic to look at. But I remember watching this film when I was in high school. I was at St. Augustine High School, and the priest played it for us. And we actually saw a live abortion take place, and it was nothing pretty.
No.
It was very graphic. It was hard. It was very hard to watch. So I'll just tell you my reasons, and I've stated before, watching the video, that changed, and I get choked up even thinking about it because I still remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what you got, but this is what you support. If you're supporting it. Now, I'm not judging you. People have a right to their opinions. I support dialogue, and I want people to call in if you have an opposition to what any of our panelists are saying or what even I have said. You can call in right now. If you want to offer support or say why you're in favor of, you call in right now. I'm looking at my poll. I'm trying to check our poll as we speak. Should Roe v. Wade be overturned? 55% of you say yes. 45% say no. Now, this is out of, I got 11 votes here. So yesterday it was 83. It was 89%. So we almost got, now it's 58% say yes. 42% say no. So so far it's a majority. I haven't closed the poll. But when you talk about the Democrats, yeah, this is what the stuff they support. Like, why is this the main issue? We look at Planned Parenthood, where they're located. Their facilities located in urban and minority neighborhoods. I don't think that's a coincidence, and especially if you look at Margaret Sanger and the things that she said. I showed this on yesterday, but I want you to look at this right here. When she went to England, I'm going to play it again for everybody. What she was quoted in saying right here. I'm going to play it again. Hold on. I have the video here.
President of American Planned Parenthood Federation maintains that European women should stop having babies for the next 10 years.
Don't you think such a theory, such a radical theory, is antisocial?
On the contrary, it seems to me that it is more practical and humane.
What about the women who want babies now and in 10 years will not be able to have babies? Rather impractical, don't you think?
Oh, John, you do ask hard questions. I should think that instead of being impractical, it is really very practical and intelligent and humane.
But Mrs. Slee, in this country, having babies is the only thing left which is both unrationed and untaxed. Do you think we really ought to stop?
Well, I suppose a subject like that is really so personal that it's entirely up to the parents to decide. But from my view, I believe that there should be no more babies.
Well, I've never seen that. I've seen I thought I saw most of her stuff, but never seen that.
No more, she says, from my point of view, there should be no more babies in England.
Obviously, she didn't like the English, I guess, but she usually discriminated. Really, it was like no more babies, that we don't want too many. It was just like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We don't want them to have, we don't want the population to grow from populations we don't want too many of, or something along that line.
Well, they're eugenics. So
yes.
It's a survival of the fittest. It's just it's the concept that you don't want to be tainted by those who you consider inferior. She started off in the 1920s and even earlier with trying to eliminate children that were disabled, just like Hitler did. That was his first attack. It wasn't on the Jews. It was on disabled people. The same with Margaret Sanger. She started with those who were disabled. She called them feeble, simple-minded, imbeciles. She said the greatest sin. Mike Wallace asked her.
About Mike Wallace.
Yeah, Mike Wallace asked her in 1950, what is the greatest sin? She said it's a parent who allows a disabled child to live. That's the greatest sin of all. Then she went on and she got the support of black pastors to eliminate poor black women's children.
That's
black
Mike
women who were
Wallace.
poor and their children. She
well,
said
well,
that,
she kind of duped them into it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
But she said she said in her literature that they wouldn't believe her, but they
Right.
would certainly accept the pastor's suggestion.
The colored
that they-
minister. Yes.
Exactly. So
Right.
she's diabolical. She was
Yeah.
diabolical in my mind.
And
Very much so.
Planned Parenthood acknowledged her racist legacy. They had to come out and acknowledge some things.
Well, I know Hillary Clinton during her campaign in 2016 called her the hero of all feminists. That's what she called her on the platform of the Democratic National Convention. That's what she said, and that's just 6 years ago. She said 6 years ago there was no greater hero of the feminist movement than Margaret Sanger.
Yeah, she did. She did praise her. And remember, even Barack Obama, he was, I believe, Parenthood was one of his biggest providers on his campaign, one of his biggest financial supporters. He stated that he didn't want his daughters to be punished with the baby. So he's obviously saying he's okay with killing his grandkids.
Mm-hmm. One of the few parents. Yeah.
We want to take some calls. Somebody call in right now. What do you think? Yeah, Margaret Sanger was a Nazi sympathizer. What, Tyree, you had asked earlier what that decision could do in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. Yes, overturning Roe v. Wade would mean that Roe v. Wade, it doesn't necessarily mean abortions cannot happen, but it means that it's decided by the states. And in 29 states, I believe they have laws against abortion, even here in my home state of Louisiana. Governor John Bell Edwards, who is a Democrat, he is pro-life. He has been adamant in saying that. Of course, there are a lot of people who don't support that. They can still consider it invasion of my body, invasion of privacy. You guys, one of the arguments I hear too, and I want to know how you counter this, or what do you do, Reverend, when people say, well, you don't care about, you talking about the mother who, you can't have a baby growing up in poverty, but when you want to support the baby before it's born, you don't want to support it afterwards.
Well, indeed, unquestionably, that's more of an indictment against the church than the pro-lifers. But some of the most benevolent, caring, and willing to make sacrifices for children have been pro-lifers. And their stories aren't ever told of them opening up their homes, providing for mothers. I don't think, indeed, you can make that as an argument, but the selfishness, I mean, you can carry the child full term and give the child up for adoption. Why would you want to kill the child when you know it's a baby? And I have an issue with that. But a lot of it is simply because they don't want their lives to be disturbed. So there is care. There is people who will take your child. And I would say this, I'm not happy about that, because right now, people like Catholic Charities and other groups, I personally do not believe in homosexual or homosexual lifestyle. I would not want a homosexual to adopt my daughter's baby. Okay, I just would not. I think that is something that would disturb me greatly, but I would not want the child to be killed either. So, we have problems, and ending abortion does not end the problems in the Black community. Okay,
no, it doesn't.
Right. but we do say it is a major problem because of the consciousness. The sanctity of life is the first building block of any society, and ours is totally corroded and jaded. We have to repent from that in order to have any hope of any harmony in any brotherhood. The callousness of people is basically due to how we treat our own. I mean, you live in a society where a mother or a person can determine whether your worth is prior to birth. And then, that sends messages to the mind that it's really more about me and what I think of you, instead of the intrinsic value that there's a God that counts you as precious, a God that counts you as worthy to live.
And can I just add this one point? And you're absolutely right. That our people, you almost reap what you sow too. That's a biblical saying. Right now, we are a minority that's been outnumbered for many a year. We were number 2 in numbers. We're number 5 in terms of stature. In terms of being considered for this or that, we're at the bottom of the heap of that. But we were always number 2 in terms of our numbers until very recently. Now, Latinos, what did Biden say to those quote unquote black leaders? And I use it very, very loosely. That by 2040, don't come to us, meaning white folk. You go to the Latinos because because there already are more of them than you now. So by this time, they're going to be.
Still got people that support it.
Let me just say this one point.
I didn't know he said that. I didn't even know he said that.
Let me make this one final point. The point I was trying to make is this.
Oh, geez.
How many millions of babies have we killed that would have balanced the thing?
Yes.
We were stayed number 2, maybe even got to be number 1 ultimately, but because we killed so many of our own folk, you can't do wrong and expect something right to come out of it.
Right.
By killing our own babies, we reduced our numbers, and now we're still 13%. If you would have added those 60 million people on to the roll, we would be in competition not with the Latinos, we'd be in a competition with the white dominants in terms of numbers. But of course,
right. And the statistics show that even though we make up 13% of the population, in 2012, the United States Center for Disease said that Black women account for 35% of the abortions in the United States, which Pastor Childress, when I've had you come on, I gave you a promotion for a second.
Well, I lay my hands on him. I'm a bishop. I can install it to the bishop.
That means what I was saying. What that means is essentially you stated that we're not reproducing at levels like our other groups, so we're actually decreasing.
Yeah, we're beneath the replacement level. You need 2.2 in order to replace the present population. I think
you're right about that.
1.93. I think it's 1.94 we're at. We're beneath it. And it would be fascinating if someone would do a indigenous study, because people who have been born here, and I love my brothers from the islands and whatnot, and thank God for most of my church is not indigenous, which is fascinating to me. And they are the ones that do go to church and take church more seriously. But it'd be interesting to see the indigenous numbers, basically, when it comes to abortion. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that we're beginning to wake up a little bit on this, and the message is getting out more. Did you know 80 African Americans are running for Congress as Republicans? 80 across the country. Yeah, and 2 or 3 of them that I've heard speak all talked about the pro-life, abortion, mentioning facts. Oh man, it just did my heart real good. And so the message is beginning to elevate, and you got to be in the political arena to do that somewhat.
Yeah, Butterflies wrote, "Who wants to live in poverty? Most of the time, women are left to care for the baby. Men skip down the road." Well, that's not always the case. Butterflies, we got women who will not have that, purposely keep that man out of that child's life. I've seen it a lot of times in court. Right. Well, you have fathers who are working 1 or 2 jobs, and their mother is, because she's upset that they broke up, is refusing to even let him see them, or trying to get more and more child support out of him. Yeah. So that goes both ways. Yeah. She says it's easy to be sitting on one side saying keep your baby when you're not responsible to care for a baby.
Well, it also goes beyond care. It's a human being. It's a person that deserves the right to pursue happiness. Pursue means you might not have it. If I'm chasing happiness, it may be that I wasn't born in happiness. You can't take off my right to pursue happiness. That's what the Declaration of Independence says. And I understand what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. God started off with one man and one woman and expected them to, he said the man should cleave unto his wife and the 2 shall be one flesh. Well, we gotten away from that, and there's a penalty for that. Yeah.
I want Butterflies to call in, because she seems to be we'll be respectful to you.
Yeah.
But call in, because look, when you say, and then when you talk about poverty, look, all of us at some point grew up in poverty back in the day. We have family members that one, their father worked 2 jobs, but had 8 or 9 children in the house. And God knows how those kids were fed. Look at the Jacksons. Look at Joe Jackson. Look at us, Venus and
Look
Serena's.
at Oprah. Look at Oprah, what her life was. Past from grandmother, the mother, the father, the back to grandmother. Poverty, born in Mississippi, the poorest state in the Union.
Yes.
Look at her life. I mean, you know, if you want to look at a life that should have been chalked off as being pregnant as a teenager. Look at her life. But she rose above her condition and her situation.
This woman
now,
on fire, man.
Huh?
This woman on fire. I just happened to see her comments. Yeah. I don't know if I calling in, but I look at it like this. It's a 2-part problem here. See, when I saw that thing last night at the Supreme Court, when I saw the black woman had to sign and said, you can't stop black women, I said, oh, Lord, here we go. I knew they were going to have one of us out there trying to be the clown. Talking about, I support it.
Hold on, y'all. I think we got a caller. Why is this? Let's see. Okay. Caller, try and call in again. Try and call in again. I see it was calling through the Google Voice. Try and call in again. 504-656-6760. I want to call back in. Yeah, well, I think it's going to come in, especially with the elections. Like I said, they're going to try and get many black folks out to vote. A lot of us are sitting at home because I've noticed something, that the Democratic Party has been imploding. You see, I'm actually registered as a Democrat, but the stuff that they have been putting out and supporting, let's even take this off the table. Even if this didn't exist, even if this wasn't the issue, just the fact that they have.
Butterfly 70.
Oh, there she is.
One. To send a voicemail.
Right. What I was saying, we have the caller back on, but hold on for a second, caller. Even though the stuff that they're just supporting now, let's take abortion, let's take gay marriage, let's take transgenderism, all of that off the table. It's not even about that for me. It's the fact that you guys are supporting other groups of people, not in the United States. You're elected members of Congress to the United States government as to members of the community, and you're not helping out the people who put you in office. That's what I'm looking at. That's what upsets me. I mean, why are we giving $8 billion to foreign countries?
Oh, it's more than that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
$33 billion. $33 billion we just released to the Ukraine.
Okay, we got on Butterfly 70. She calls in. Butterfly 70, are you there?
Yes, I am, and I have allergies, so excuse me.
Okay, no problem, dear. Good evening to you. I love dialogue. I love to have people have a difference in opinion come in. So why don't you speak your piece, dear?
Well, I basically just feel like that a woman has to be the main, well, she's usually the main one that's taking care of the child in most situations. That's all I'm saying. And I don't think it's fair for men to make a decision for a woman who doesn't necessarily want to devote her 18 years of her life to a child. I mean, that's prevent her from going to college, or getting some type of trade, making better situations for her and her child. And men don't look at it that way. They just look at it like, she's a woman, she should do this, and that's it. But they don't look at 9 times out of 10, if that man isn't in love with that woman and he doesn't want to be bothered with that woman. I mean, nowadays, most men are not going to take the accountability of even raising that child. So it's 9 times out of 10 that woman is taking care of that child: daycare, medical care, housing, clothing, food. You know what I mean? And also saving for college, and all of that is on her.
Well, look, I'm a strongly. I'm a.
That's a lot to deal with, and I think also
Wait, hold up a
men
second.
should also, if they feel a certain kind of way that a woman shouldn't be aborting her child, then I think there should be preventative measures.
Well, let me stop you
before they even have sex.
Well, let me stop you because you said something that I do have to say. Well, you said that men don't want. Did you? I want to understand you carefully, but you made a comment about how men are not looking into this both ways and how men often aren't involved in their children's lives. Did I catch that correctly?
They're not often. I mean, I'm just looking at things.
You said they're not all,
I'm
but
looking at 20 years.
but that's a very broad definition. But wait, let me finish, please. That's a very broad definition to say that, because that's a very broad statement to say, because statistically there are actually a lot of men who are actively involved, single fathers who are involved in their children's lives, black men in particular.
Well, let me say this.
Can you hear me?
Let me say this. As this is Bishop Scott, I raised my daughter not only during our marriage, but once we, but
can you hear? Can you hear me?
Sorry.
Hold on a second.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, what I was saying, I know Bishop Scott is trying to jump in, but I was saying that when you made the line that most men often are not involved in their children's lives, I have to challenge that, because there are men, and statistically,
like me,
especially black men, if you look at recent statistics that came out a few years ago that show that they are actively involved in the lives of their children. There's a misconception that, black daddies are not at the home and so forth, which, while it's true that there are no longer conventional married couples that are together as husband and wife, there are still actively, fathers being involved, still single fathers, just like there's single mothers involved with their children, just like they have misconception that most black men are in jail than they are in college. That's not accurate. There are actually more black men in college. The thing is when they do those statistics, they don't factor in, for instance, the evening programs that some black men do, because they're working in the day while they're trying to get their education at night. They also don't factor in community colleges as well as online courses. So all of that is just taken into account. But go ahead and finish your point. And I know, Bishop, you wanted to say something.
Yeah.
But wait, please let butterflies talk. Yeah, you could talk butterflies. I was just telling Bishop to hold off. Go ahead.
I'm not giving pushback just to get pushback. I'm like, it's just how I think people should have like be able to have different opinions, or say on the different matters. I don't think it should just be one-sided. But and I'm saying this to say that I wanted to ask you too, that statistic, if you could bring that up, because I've seen different statistically, as far as the care of a black people, black men taking care of children. And I'm not saying that to be negative towards black men. And I know there's good black men, but I'm just saying statistically, I read something different.
Well, okay, this is I don't care for this guy personally, but a few years, I don't care for Charles Blow because he's said some stupid stuff in the past, but he actually did a New York Times article here from 2015. He has some statistics here. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in 2013, nearly 72% of births to non-Hispanic black women, the mothers were unmarried. He says that it's always seemed to me that embedded in the if only black men would marry the women they have babies with rhetoric was a more insidious suggestion that there is something fundamental intrinsic about black men that is flawed, that black fathers are pathologically prone to desertion of their offspring and therefore largely responsible for black community dysfunction. There is an astounding amount of mythology loaded into this stereotype, one that echoes a history of efforts to rob black masculinity to honor and fidelity. So I'm not going to read all of it because it's a long article, but I will put it here in the chat so you could take a look at. But he gives statistics. So he says, so then why, you may ask, how is it that 72% of black children are born to single mothers? How can both be true? Here are two things to consider. He says, first, there are a growing number of people, number one, who live together but don't marry. Those mothers are still single, which is true because, as you know, the old saying, if you're not married, marriage is considered and has always been considered the highest form of a relationship, but you're still legally single because you can be with somebody, or as they call it, shacking. And back in the day, if you weren't married, you live, and Bishop said, sure, you've heard of the term living in sin, that they would call that.
Yes.
But a lot of people still do that. They don't get married. And part of it is because of the pressures of marriage, especially in terms of civil marriage. I believe in biblical marriage, but what our government has done with marriage today, with provisions that they have, it's made me question, scratch my head. I believe in marriage, yes, but just the stuff that they have now, it's turned it has, and I'll admit, and I say this to the elders, it's turned a lot of young people off.
Yeah.
Now, I put the article there, link for you, but he also goes on to say in his opinion, and he has the statistics here. Let me share it because this will be better so you guys know I'm not reading from something random. But the share, and he's quoting the Washington Post, the share of unmarried couples who often opted to have shotgun cohabitations, moving in together after a pregnancy, surpassed shotgun marriages for the first time during the decade, according to the National Center for Health Statistics, part of the Centers for Disease Control. So you have fathers living with children versus fathers not living with children. So involvement of fathers with activities of their children under age 5, black men actually surpassed their white and Hispanic counterparts in terms of feeding or eating with their children. I'm sorry?
He got a lot of pushback tonight.
The bad part is a higher IQ with children that have their fathers in the home.
Wait a minute now.
Which is, Bernard, you were saying something? What?
I got something to say. This is kind of like on this topic, but it's kind of like scattered. Like last week, and everything you saying, Gavin, I agree with. And the lady, I respect her opinion, but I got something to say. This is like last week when I was out at Sam's Club, and a young lady comes to me asking me to donate to their non-bullying thing. And I said, no, ma'am, I don't think I should donate to your non-bullying thing, because if you want to get the problem right, you got to have 2-parent households. And then the guy comes over and he said, well, a lot of depression and killing is going on in 2-parent households. I said, show me the statistics of that, because I'm looking at the data here. And I told him, so he said, yeah, I know you're talking about when you back in the day, but how do you think talking about anti-bullying will work now? I said, hey, when I was young, you punch the bully in the mouth, you let it be. That's how we handle things. We didn't launch anti-bullying nonprofits and stuff like that. So I told him, no, I will not donate to you, because this problem is not going to be solved with donation money. It's solved by getting the parents back at home. Now, the lady is saying something, but I will say that it's a statistic because, number one, that's what the media shows about men. I mean, it's not our fault to make up for the failure inside of it, but we all is accountable for this. I mean, some women, they got to stop dealing with Pookie and Ray Ray, and some men, I mean, they got to stop dealing with certain women too. That's just how it goes. I mean, everybody got to pay accountable for this. So it shouldn't come down to a legal decision on this. Really, I said that if you go look at stories, and you'll find out a lot of women who had these abortions feel very bad about this stuff later in life, even yelling on their deathbed and screaming and about what they done. That's why they ask you, are you sure you want to do this? So I would say safe sex, and hey, the responsibility of sex is to procreate. So that's just all I gotta say.
Okay. Well, the other statistic, and I won't read all of it, but he also says here, second, some of these men have children by more than one woman, but they can only live in one home at a time. This phenomenon means that a father can live with some, but not all of his children. Levs, he's quoting the man who wrote this, came up with this report, calls these men and I've never heard this term, serial impregnators. Makes it sound like aliens. But I think something more than promiscuity and irresponsibility are at play here. But that's just part of it there here. And I see Stephanie, she says, I'd rather a female abort an unwanted baby than to birth the baby only to abuse, neglect, and possibly kill that child. I just feel like it's nobody's decision to make but the one carrying the child. Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell still aren't married yet. They've been together since Swing Shift. Yes, that's true. They are not married. I think, yeah, they have a son together who's actually an actor. He was in Overlord, and he was also in the Avengers. He's on the TV series, the Black Falcon, Winter Soldier. So he's a part of that as well. But it looks just like his father. Go ahead. Go ahead, Butterflies.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to get off up here. I think that that really, what I did with my son, I was a single mother. I promoted that in my I think that people should promote to have friendships and have respect for their body, and also have, like I said, accountability and know the consequences of certain actions, whether they be female or male. Because I have a son, so I taught him always to have, respect and accountability for everything that, he doesn't like. So, and I think people should promote that in their child at a certain, a certain age, but at a young age. They shouldn't because I think the woman also, or the young lady, is more pressured and to have sex at an early age. Unfortunately, in this society nowadays, like I said, this is 2022. This is not 1950. This is not 1980.
Well, yeah. Well, look at your elected. Look at your elected officials. I mean,
we take that into accountability.
Right. Well, yeah. That stems too from your elected officials. I mean, even Joe Biden said he thinks a 13-year-old should decide whether or not he wants to be a boy or girl at 13 years old. Younger than that, 9 years old, I think.
9, 7.
Yeah, he said that. So, no, I know you didn't. A lot of the B1 family didn't vote for him, but I'm just saying. But this is what this is the policies. These are the policies. Just one of them that the Dems support. So that's why I can't get with even with this aside. Like I said before, even the stuff they're doing, like giving the monies to the foreign nations and not helping out the homeless veterans that we have here. Yeah. Now, granted, that's a problem too, where some of these men are not taking their medicines, but still, the fact that they're left out in the cold, they do their job, they do their duties, serving this country honorably, and yet they come back and can't get a job parking cars. Things of that nature. That's stuff that bothers me. We should be concerned about. But I got someone else who called in at 972. I want them to call back. I saw they left a voicemail.
But butterflies, I thank
Okay.
you. I thank you for calling in and giving us your 2 cents, dear. Butterflies.
I think she. Yeah, I think she. think she hung up.
She hung up. Well, I just hung up on her. But all right, caller from 972. You called in. You wanted to 972. I'm sure you're still on. You left a voicemail. If you're still there, you can call in for in the next couple of minutes. I'll be here. You can try back. I know there's a delay, I believe, with my video, so I'm waiting for them to call back. I was on the line with her. I don't have multiple phone lines here running. I'm still a one-man show, guys.
Well, that's all right. Wait on the Lord.
Yeah.
But I wanted just to add one point. I know the woman's off. I wanted her to hear it, but other people were talking. That's fine. But nevertheless, I mean, I can understand her point of view. I mean, but I can look at it from 2 points of view. My father left our household when I was 6 years old. He never returned. He had very minimal influence in our lives. We saw him maybe Christmas time or whatever, and that mainly because his father, my grandfather, would take us to see him. It never was him coming to see us. He would take us to see him, his son. But in the same token, I, who had cerebral palsy, was born with cerebral palsy, raised my daughter as a single parent from the time she was 1 year old. I had her the whole time with her mother, but when her mother and I split, I took the child at 1 year old. I raised her until she ended up marrying herself and having children. So, I mean, yes, there are men. I can speak about men who are derelict in their duty, but I can also speak about men who aren't. My 2 grandfathers were family men. They raised their children. They were in the household from the time before they were born, during their birth, and throughout their lives. And I've emulated my life after them. I didn't imitate my father. I imitated my grandfathers, who both raised their children, and even one grandfather, their children, and my child helped me raise my child, which was their great grandchild. So there are men that are derelict, but also men that are very dutiful, very conscientious, and the like. Thank you.
All right. We got caller from 972, gentlemen, on the phone. Caller from 972, you're on live with Random Topic Tuesdays. Gavin Reshaw presents. Can you give us your name?
Peace and blessings. This is Shaq calling out of Texas. Peace and blessings. How you doing, guys?
Oh, good evening, Shaq. How you doing? We're doing fine, brother. Go ahead and speak your piece, please.
Yeah, man. These topics these are mature conversations I think us as adults should definitely be having among ourselves. And I appreciate you guys opening the platform up and having these conversations, because for far too long, women in general have had the license or the right to kill unborn babies for farming. Men.
What's up, Shaq?
Shaq, did we lose you?
Shaq. The government, per se, has given them the right to pretty much kill, a license to kill. You know what I mean? Without any pushback. And now that we have the internet and we have social media where we can speak up. You got a lot of men speaking up and saying, well, no, I did want to be involved in my kid in that decision. And I was totally boxed out of that decision of being a custodial, being the biological father or whatever. I was boxed out of that decision. Yeah, we laid down together, and the outcome is the baby or a possible baby, right? Mm-hmm. But the men are not involved. Pretty Carla was saying about men and not a lot of truths that men don't want to be in it. A lot of women are given the opportunity, they're given way more options and more rights than men are given just by nature. They're given it.
Yeah.
Right?
Does degree.
I'm coming for someone that's a father. Mm-hmm.
To a degree, yeah. Well, I think I understood. It sounded like she was trying to play devil. Butterflies was also trying to play devil's advocate because she said she didn't want everybody to think the same way and have the same opinion. But when I look at this as a as a topic, this is just me. I'm not even, let's take even the religious aspect of it away, whether you believe in God or not, although God's word is eternal and he makes himself on, presses his, your conscience is obviously linked to what is right and wrong, what determines right from wrong. If it's man that determines right from wrong, remember, man can also decide to change his mind on what's right and wrong. We had a country, this is a country not long ago that that thought black people were 3/5 of a person, that were less than human being. The Supreme Court of the United States, this same Supreme Court said Dred Scott was not a man because he was black. There's the same Supreme Court that said Homer Plessy did not have the right and to sit in the whites only section of that streetcar here in my hometown of New Orleans. That was in 1896. So rights do change. However, what I will discuss, and the main thing for me, is when I look at the numbers, as what Pastor Childress has brought up, is it a problem for us that we're not reproducing at the level that we should? Because it takes away our political, it takes away not only our ability to procreate, but it also takes away our political power. Just think, what if there were 100 million, if there were, remember at one point slaves outnumbered the slave owners.
Mm-hmm.
After the Civil War, blacks outnumbered whites in this country. And soon after that is when you started to see the eugenicist movement pop up.
Right.
It was in the 1800s. So it is not a coincidence, I believe, that these movements have started. Now, I know people who are going to disagree with me. There are people who disagree with us.
Is that me or you? It sounds like you're breaking up. You breaking up on your end?
I'm not breaking. I don't think I'm breaking up. I got you on. I think everybody can hear you and me because I'm on the Mac computer. So you're talking through that. I don't have interface set up yet, but I'm looking at it. We got 17 votes here. 53% of you say Roe v. Wade should be overturned versus 47%. Butterfly says black men are marrying white women too. Yeah, well, we got black women getting with Zaddy as well. So it's going both ways with that. But
But when I said the problem though, Gavin, with that comment you just comment you just read, that black men, a lot of people care that black men marry white women when black men so-called black men ask their women to just be submissive, and that's a problem. That's like a dead. That's almost like a dead word when you talk about being submissive. A man when he asks for a woman, big black woman, for certain things for them to bring to the table, and then to be agreeable with him per se. So yes, that man is gonna go with somebody that's gonna be agreeable with him as being a man.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
A lot of women have. Yeah, I mean that's just nowhere fair. So they try to bring up this black men dating white women, but you don't want to do the things that the white women doing, right? A lot of these white women, they invest in the men. They let them actually be the man. They not that combative for them.
Well, that's not always the case.
It's not the bad black women.
That's not always the case though, Shaq. Look what happened to that immigrant out in Florida who was killed by that white woman. She chopped him up.
Oh, when they go hard, they go hard. They don't play when they go hard.
When they talk about black men dating white women or dating about their race, my question is, why do they care? If you're not doing anything to protect them, then why do you really care? Is that fake outrage? I'm talking about for the black women that make the statement of black men dating white women or marrying white women or marrying do they really care about that? Because if they did,
could be envy.
As the man, as the head of household.
Yeah, I think a good number of women want to be the head of the household. Look at Jada. Oh, I'm sorry, Will. I'll keep your wife's name out my mouth.
Yeah, you clean that up. He cleaned that up good.
But you see what I'm
You
saying?
didn't say all that. You said more than that.
It's a lot of energy of women trying to be more masculine than a man now.
Right.
If you go through the history timeline, women have either let me see, what's the word I want to use? Unfairly thrust into a masculine role in certain situations, certain scenarios we know throughout the timeline. Now there's a whole energy now. And I mentioned this to Bernard before we talked, when I said it's a problem. When we go back to, we talk about the spirit, and we talk about the energy that you give off, your aura, and when you talking, when you cursing yourself, your life and stuff like that. This just take religion out. This just talk about universal. If you got energy on you saying that you don't need a man, that energy is going to be on stage. But when you out, you can wonder why you're getting talking to you, they're not addressing you, not speaking to you, they're not, because you got an energy, you got an aura about you that's saying that you don't need a man. You
yeah.
I don't think these women understand that. That aura is on you that you don't need a man. That's strong work. I would rather you say, be more consistent and say, I don't need a man right now because I'm working towards this, blah, 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 or I'm doing this, blah, 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 or
right.
I don't want a man right now. To say you don't need, you actually killing your life. You're killing you. Because without a man, you didn't get here without a man. At the end of the day, none of us didn't get here without a man. So when you try to exclude the man out of the equation,
that's right.
It's humanity.
Well,
it's kind of like an oxymoron.
Right. Well, I'll say this, and I appreciate you calling in, Brother Shaq. Always call in again anytime, brother. But I will say this: I think that society is trying to society, without a doubt, they've even said it. They're trying to replace men. They tried to replace the family unit, but they want to replace men now because pretty soon, even on these birth certificates, if you've seen in some states, you have the options now to call your kid X, not to identify them with anything. They don't have to be male or female.
Let me ask you, Gavin, a question.
But yeah, go ahead. Thank you, Shaq.
Yeah, it was gonna be Shaq and Gavin. That's gonna be everybody because, like Gavin, a lot of stuff we go over. We look at this stuff. Like you saying, trying to replace men, but also as a thing trying to make the men look more feminine. Look at Russell Westbrook at the Met Gala. Look at Dwayne Wade saying that he used to dress in heels and all this other crazy mess, right? And then we say we don't need men, but they also mean we don't need strong men. They consider us to be toxic, and we want these weak simps. Me and Shaq talk about this all the time. This stuff is like conquering male so-called dominance, but it ain't male dominance, just being a man. That's why I be saying, like, hold on, sisters. Y'all gotta stop using that term men and then just say male. Because you got some males, that just means you got a penis. That don't mean he is a man, okay? Because some of this stuff, like with Dwayne Wade saying, this is some lunatic crap.
Look, I don't want this video taken down because I made some remarks years ago.
I'm sorry, but look, man, I can't have. Hey, look, that's on me.
But yeah, just like brother Professor Black Troop did a video. We went black masculinity went from Billy D. Williams to Billy Porter.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna keep everybody too long because it looks like Bishop is falling off to sleep.
No, I'm looking at my. I'm looking at something.
Hey, look, but it's okay. But it's okay though, Gavin, because I got. It's okay because I'm just saying. Look, you know that saying, "Last of a dying breed." I just did a show with Bishop and Shaq. No, Shaq, you weren't on there. It was Frank.
Me and you.
Yeah. Shaq, I sent you the invitation, but like this is some innovative state type stuff, as I had already said.
Right. I want to talk, gentlemen, one final topic because I put it in the description. This is not concerning abortion. I talked about this Sunday, and I want to give this a little more care if we could. It's not a long video, but it's about this brother, Demetrius Phillips, who worked at the Trimac company. I don't know if you've seen this story, but This is a young man who perished at the age of 33 years old. He was a father to two daughters. He worked for this company as a truck driver, and apparently he developed Hodgkin's lymphoma from working in this company. So I'm going to play it right quick. This will be our final topic, but I want to hear what your thoughts are from each of you as we watch this video. So please put that disclaimer up. We'll go ahead and watch this.
When I see that video, it makes me smile because I was like, what an awesome dad my daughter had.
A bittersweet moment of a father no longer around to hold his daughter's hand.
Sometimes I get sad and say, she's her dad.
Nicole Milan believes her late husband Demetrius unknowingly sacrificed his life working here at Trimac in Fairburn, Georgia, a trucking company which hauls hazardous chemicals across the country. His job for 13 years, removing chemical residue left inside tanker trucks like these, often crawling inside to do it without the required protection equipment, up to 25 times a day.
But he was kind of scared, saying that he felt like it was dangerous.
Nicole says her husband started falling ill in 2019.
He had like this little shirt that he had tied around his neck. But he said, I got something to show you. When he removed the shirt, I said, oh my God. All of this was swollen like big knots.
The diagnosis, lymphoma.
When I first heard cancer, I automatically thought the job and the chemicals.
Trimac told Demetrius his job was safe. Before going inside, the company shows employees work permits like this when claiming the products hauled last were non-hazardous. But our investigation shows that wasn't always true. According to these dozen permits, part of a pending lawsuit, it shows some chemicals last hauled were ethylene, decyanate, and acid. All chemicals the Environmental Protection Agency identifies as potentially lethal if exposed or inhaled. Trimac listed each of them as non-hazardous.
You have hardworking individuals that have, unfortunately, no knowledge of chemistry or of toxicity, that were misled.
Dr. Pamela Pillay is a professor at Georgia Tech School of Chemistry and its safety program coordinator. She reviewed the work permits as a paid expert witness, including this one that shows a tanker which hauled MDI, or methylene diphenyldicyanoate, a compound the EPA says can be fatal. Trimac identified it as non-hazardous.
So put in perspective, if just an ounce is left in that tanker truck and you're inside, is it still dangerous?
Yes, so we calculated, you can calculate that. We computed how much you will need to reach this IDHL, this immediate danger to health and life. And that is very, very little because those chemicals are so toxic and so dangerous.
Trimac declined 11 Alive's request for an interview. Instead, it sent us this letter calling the former employee's claims simply untrue, adding the health and safety of our employees and the community are paramount, and it denied all claims in the lawsuit. About 2 years ago, Trimac paid a $225,000 penalty to the EPA after the agency cited it for dozens of violations, including storing hazardous waste without permits, failing to inspect tanks, and unlabeled chemical containers.
No label.
And earlier this year, a judge ordered Trimac to allow Professor Pole and an attorney representing workers to inspect its facilities at its Fairburn and Atlanta facility. Pole identified some of the same issues: chemicals not labeled, unknown liquids near electrical wires, and multiple wash stations not working used to rinse workers in case of an exposure.
Look at that.
Would you describe the work site that you went to as dangerous?
Yeah, I would describe it as dangerous.
At least a dozen former Trimac employees, part of pending litigation, claim chemical exposure had made them sick, including James Grove, who worked for the company in Kansas. He suffered from leukemia.
I just want to be with my family one more day. That's all I can do.
He died earlier this month after taking this emergency deposition from his bed.
I was like, how could I not see signs What am I supposed to do?
Demetrius died in August 2021, leaving his wife to care for their 4 children.
4 children.
Alone.
I just think about other families and just hoping no one has to endure what me and my kids have to endure.
Last year, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration fined TriMac more than $12,000 for multiple safety issues. That includes not providing personal protection equipment for its workers. Tomorrow, an administrative law judge in Atlanta will hear a workers' compensation claim filed by Demetrius Phillips before he died. 2 other lawsuits involving multiple TriMac employees are pending in Fulton County State Court.
That was terrible to watch.
That was sad.
Very, very.
And he didn't go, Bishop, he didn't even have any protective gear, no hazmat
No,
suit.
nothing. And to see how his face changed from that slender, vibrant, healthy-looking man to that swollen, disfigured. I mean, I tell you, it's certainly is sad. Young man.
Yeah.
Yes, with 4 daughters. I mean,
4
4 kids. That's not 4 daughters, excuse me. He had 4 kids. I believe he had a son there too, but I saw the 2 little girls there. So yeah, my heart bleeds for him and his family, and even to see the facility. I mean, the wash station was broke. That it was like a pumpkin was coming out of that shower head.
Yeah. Well, I'm to go up in a tanker. Maybe it's because I'm always reading and doing. I don't know. I guess a butterfly needs to listen. There was a man who was really trying to support his family and endangering himself. Yeah. And to climb up there without, people saw him doing this. His supervisor knew about it. I don't understand why he didn't take the proper precautions and why he didn't question going in there. It may have been just because of his lack of knowledge, but this is truly, Bishop knows my people are destroyed because of a lack of knowledge. That is a perfect example. What am I going into? What am I being exposed to? Now that's
it looked like he was hiding it for a while. Remember, he was covering himself up in a way, and eventually his wife pressed him to uncover himself. She was surprised what she saw.
My dad worked in a similar place, but he stopped.
Okay.
But it caught up to him later on. And I didn't know the story till after his death. And his brother basically had worked in the same place and the same thing. But you figure at this point in time, this is like 2000. This is after 2010 or something. This is happening. That I'm talking about back in the 40s or 30s, and it's just like the asbestos, and all those other things that basically were lined our wall, lead paint,
right.
But this, I don't know, maybe the consciousness of being aware of these things. You asked me to go into a tanker with chemicals to clean it. I'm going to have a breakdown. What's in there? And that picture of him holding his daughter's hand, and and we should always know he was just trying to provide for
That's
his
all. That's all.
Just trying to provide.
That's all. Bernard, you got something to add to this story?
I think he must have been asleep. I think he must be asleep.
Bernard.
No, I'm here, man. I didn't have nothing. I was just listening to what he was saying. It was good.
Yeah, sad, wasn't it, Bernard?
It
was sad.
Yeah.
It's sad, but you know what? I will say this. The more and more you hear a story, man, and you be like, the old saying, you hear something, but you never heard it all.
Well, I like to find out when his case goes before a judge, and with all that information, basically the violations. The second one, I said the family gets quite a settlement. They did not inspect the tankers, well, you're done at that point because
Yeah.
you sent him in there without the proper inspection. The family should.
But it looked like Pastor, it was a cover up because all those chemicals were known to be acid. Come on, acid.
Right.
There will be a lawsuit here.
I mean, that's something I don't need. I don't have to be a scientist to understand. Acid will burn you. Acid can disfigure you. Acid can destroy you. And by each of their, but the company by each of these names, they would say none, none invasive, none harmful.
Right.
All three of them.
I just want to know who will get paid.
Yeah,
There'll be a lawsuit.
Exactly. They wanted to pacify them to believing it'll be okay. Go on in there. Nothing wrong with it. Anytime somebody tells me acid, I'm a pause.
Sure.
The other names, I didn't know anything about those names, but I know about acid.
Right.
And I know acid can burn. I've seen enough movies to see people.
I don't know when he was going in and out of it, but this is the age of Google.
Yes,
anything I would have saw, I'd have been Googling when I got home to find out just exactly what's going on.
Oh yeah,
I do it now. I take labels, I look on the back of the labels, and I Google every ingredient.
But they didn't even have these things labeled, and that was a problem. So I mean, look, I love to have his family come on and talk about his wife, his widow to come on. I'd appreciate, if they would want to. Yeah, acid is acid, Stephanie D. It's going to act like acid regardless.
Yeah, I mean, acid. I mean, the other names are scientific and it's complicated. You may not know them, but everybody knows acid.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody in God's heaven. If I see acid, I know that can burn, that can disfigure you, that can peel the skin off your face. I've watched too many movies to see what it can do.
Yeah.
Now, which would lead me to believe possibly he didn't know what
Maybe
it was.
He didn't know
when he was going in there.
But it wasn't just acid. Apparently, it wasn't just acid. They were also saying all types of other stuff.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, but I'm saying acid.
But not even a hazmat suit.
Yeah,
right. No, that
I
got to get on him about. I mean, you may not know what it is, but because of that, you should be protected. You're going in. I mean, I see protection going into a sewage, anything of that nature that there can be germs. They're properly covered and protected.
Hazardous waste things, in
right.
hospitals, they tell you to wear certain gloves.
Perfect example.
The fact that this company, and it doesn't surprise me, they're trying to deny everything.
They're naturally going to do that.
They're naturally going to do that. So, and he wasn't the only one too. You had someone that had leukemia.
Yeah, 12 other workers. They say 12. I heard them say 12 other workers.
12 other workers, and I'm talking about the gentleman who gave the deposition before he died.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The older
Well,
gentleman.
I'm hoping they get a cash class action suit.
Oh, they should.
Yeah.
They should.
Well, what's happening is that it's before on Monday. It went before an administrative judge because it's a workers' comp issue. Because obviously he stopped working as a result if he's claiming injury. And so you can't necessarily claim an intentional tort under workers' comp traditionally. Your intentional torts are your battery, assault. Yeah, I hear you, Bernard. It's a pain in the ass. The battery, assault. When you talk about, for instance, the young man in Florida who fell from that.
Ferris wheel?
It wasn't a Ferris wheel. It was a
roller coaster.
Roller coaster. It was a drop. No, it was a free fall drop.
Oh
Right.
I've seen those rides. Yeah, I've seen those things. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be wrongful deaths, but because it happened on the job, he's doing it under workers' comp. So I don't know what the decision will be. I'll be monitoring it, but I'd be glad to have that woman come, his wife to come on, Mrs. Phillips, and talk. And I'm praying that they get. It's not going to bring your loved one back, but it could help. Anything that could help her. Raising 4 kids on her own.
Right.
But, gentlemen, I've kept you all for a long time on this topic, and of course the main topic with abortion. And I want you to give everyone your contact information where they can reach you. Let's start going clockwise past the Childress.
Okay, blackgenocide.org, and my church website is newcalvarydeliverance.org. So Black Genocide is easy to remember, .org. Not .com now. That's my good friend Mark Crutcher, the producer of My Alpha 21. But I was first. Black Genocide, blackgenocide.org, and our church website is newcalvarydeliverance.org. And if you're ever in the Newark area, stop in and see us.
We'll do. Bishop Scott, you have a show on tomorrow at 6:00 Eastern. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, we have a show on every Wednesday at 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Real Talk with the G-Man. We cover many of the topics that were covered here tonight, and plus some others. We're going to change the format a little bit on our program. We're going to have about an hour and a half of news and breaking news and current events as it relates to world events and national events. But then I'm going to go into a thing called Black's Agenda, our journey towards self-determination. And that'll be dealing with the Black experience here in America and what we can do to change our situation. I believe that this system has proven time and time again it has no inclination or desire to make things better for us in a tangible way. They'll give us gestures, they'll give us symbolism, but they'll very seldom give us anything tangible and something that we can really grow in particular economically. So we're going to be dealing with all of that, and that'll be a series. We'll be dealing once again with abortion and how it impacts the Black community. We'll be dealing with Black ableism, how the Blacks many times are ableistic in their view with amongst other Blacks who have disabilities of various sorts. So we're going to be dealing with all of these types of things so we can understand one another, join together with one another, and find a solution for ourselves and not always depend on people to help us through. We got to get through by ourselves. So that's what we'll be talking about beginning tomorrow night.
All right. Thank you, Bishop Scott. And Brother Menard, I have your Cash App, but tell us everybody about your YouTube channel briefly and how they can find you. Bishop, Bernard.
Sorry, man, I was on mute. I ain't put myself on mute again. Look, King BJ Johnson, YouTube, KingBJMedia.com, KingBJFitness.com, and Bernard Johnson, Facebook, Bernard 1121 Instagram. Yeah, Gavin, I got to give you credit for bringing up another great show.
Thank you. And speaking of bringing up another great show, ladies and gentlemen, please support me at the Cash App, the Google Pay, and PayPal. You know, YouTube has demonetized this channel because I speak too much truth, which means even with I actually got to 1,000 subscribers, and for me to have that would allow my channel to be monetized. And I tell you, not even within 48 hours, less than that, my channel was immediately demonetized with no explanation other than they said that it didn't fit the partnership program. No explanation. I have had, wait, hold on, Bernard. I have gotten hate speech strikes. I've talked about the you know what, and I got that taken down. They've actually have a community guideline strike on me because I simulcast the Savior's Day broadcast done by the Nation of Islam. They, if you remember, in 2020, took off Minister Farrakhan's social media page everywhere, from YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. He has no page on there. So that was all removed because of that. That's why my channel has strikes. I get copyright strikes all the time. So you all, if you want to support the channel, please, I ask you to donate to the Cash App, Gavin Richard Esquire. I'm not paid doing this. Any gifts you give, I appreciate. The PayPal, the Google Pay. I'm also on Venmo, which is new. I didn't indicate that. Derek Bailey says Reverend Childress preaches in Newark.
Yes.
Yes, he does. And give him the church name again, Bishop.
New Calvary. We're on 212 Hunterton Street in Newark at 11:45 a.m. on Sunday. 8 o'clock, if you got some kids at home at 8 o'clock on Fridays, we have a dynamic youth group, 8 p.m. to 10 there on Friday nights also, from ages from 5 to 18. But right now, 11:45 a.m. on Sunday, we plan to have one more service. We just moved there these last 3 months.
Right, and I put the Venmo in the chat, but that's where you all, if you want to support. Bernard, you were about to say something right quick. I'll let you talk, but we're about to wrap it up. But just say very quickly, if you could, what you were about to say.
Oh, no, I just want to say, like Dr. Phil Valentine and a couple other people, you know, they done had their shit. I think they moved his cash out.
Yeah, Randy Short, Dr. Randy Short, they've done stuff with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Dr.
that
Short,
Ministry of Truth thing they talking about, I told Bishop, and I called Bishop and I told him, look, when Obama had that conference at Stanford, that's pretty much the way they want to go with the censorship. They really going really in.
Yeah, but Elon Musk on Twitter, CNN has been bought by the lead investor is a Trump supporter. It's going to shift. CNN has gone down.
CNN Plus was canceled a month after it launched.
Twitter,
3 weeks.
He said it's going to be major changes, but Randy Short is a very good friend of mine. I didn't know they took his cash. I got to call him up now. But he's
Dr. Short. Yeah, he's pro-life all the way.
No doubt about it.
He doesn't care, and he has no filter.
Right. Who you telling?
I've had him come on. He's called out a lot of people from John from one. He protested Warnock. He protested.
I was with him. I was with him in Atlanta when we protested Warnock. Raphael Warnock. You asked him. You mentioned the homeless. They hang out at his church. They sleep.
That's what I was going to ask you.
And they don't even minister. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's Ebenezer's losing its status, and Alveda is not there. She came down with us to protest against the Raphael Warnock, and hopefully Herschel Walker pulls it out. He looks like he's doing pretty good, but we'll see. We'll see.
These Democrats, Judge Joe Brown would say, they hell no. These are some sissified punks. We don't need these punks running anything.
They are some punks.
These are sissified punks. Oh God, I hate this crap. Call Queen Harris. This incompetent Jim Crow Joe that we got running, lock him up, Joe. I remember when that racist dog was praising Storm Thurmond. I remember that racist. That's what Judge Joe Brown always said.
Well, you got him down. You got him down.
Damn, get off the damn phone.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you, Gavin, for the invite.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Inviting us. I think it was a very, very good program tonight. It was really eye-opening, and I like everyone's opinion, whether pro or con. It's good to have different opinions, and I like that about your program, that it's not isolated to one point of view, but you're open to receive and listen to other points of view. You know, and I think once we come to a common ground and can understand one another, we'll realize we have more in common than we don't. We'll be surprised how much we have in common. And by having formats like what you do, Gavin, you bring that out in so many people. We may not agree with every point you make, but we are agreeable to listen to what you have to say.
There's a lot of Democrats like Brother Richard in Newark I'm meeting. They're just basically, they're not Republicans. They are Democrats that are basically with me on my issues, and but they are. They don't have it high on the priority, but they see what's happening to the kids, and they say we have to step up and do something because our party does not care, and that is true. That is true.
I just got a look at my notes. I'm looking here at votes now on my YouTube channel. 55% of people say Roe v. Wade should not be overturned. 50. It was high, or I just ended the poll, but it was high yesterday. It was 89%. Said yes, it should be overturned.
Oh, well, they must have turned on the MSNBC and the rest of them in a panic. they are off the chain at this point. They're putting the high gear marketing scare into the Black community and saying everything. Oh man, it's just it's just sad. But I think in my travels now, since I've been there, the African American community is waking up to a lot of this. I think they feel that they should be overturned, and if not, see, you got to depend. Sometimes people say overturn means and they're not at this point yet. Absolutely no abortions, and that doesn't, as someone has already stated on the program, overturning Roe versus Wade means
it just means the feds are going to step out of it.
Yeah, but but what they won't tell you, 82% of the people want abortion restrictions because they do not want it all 9 months. They don't, and most of them don't know at 18 days there's a heartbeat, 42 days there's brain waves, 85 days the child is sucking their thumb. That's a person, okay? And they don't. A lot of people just don't know that and don't see that and don't believe that. But you know, you mentioned Bernard Nathanson, sonograms and all the equipment today. Absolutely, and 85 to 90% of women that see a sonogram will not abort. And so, what's happening now? A lot of the money's at pro-lifers, and I had no problem with it. But you need activism or going to crisis pregnancy centers. But you have to get the woman to the crisis pregnancy center for them to see that. Planned Parenthood won't show you that.
Oh, no.
Planned Parenthood doesn't do mammograms, as they try to tell people. They do not do. There's not one Planned Parenthood facility that does mammograms. They certainly do not care for women's health, or they would tell them about the psychological issues that women have after, as you stated earlier. So, it's changing. There are people in the hood. I'm in the hood now. I'm in on the Central Ward of Newark, and that's all good. Right by the hospital, and I'm talking to people. People coming over talking to us as they see us.
And Pastor, I'm right in North Philly, so you know.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I didn't know you were in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm North Philly. Yep.
Oh, I gotta check you out. I'm right in Jersey. I'm right across.
Yeah, I know. When you said Jersey, oh my God, that's my neighbor.
I thought you were down there in Louisiana.
No, I'm in Philly.
He's a Philly boy.
North Philadelphia.
Well,
I've been by there one time, sir.
You know,
I've been by there one time.
I go there.
Oh yeah, I'm right there on Broad Street. Right on Broad Street.
I go to her bus every year.
Oh, get out of here. Yeah, I've been to that church before. Yes.
Well, when I come in October and I'll be there, I'm going to call you first.
Yeah, I'll meet you there. I'll go there and meet you.
Not a problem. Man,
that'll be great, man.
I'm thinking you way across. I'm thinking you way across.
I'm just across the wall.
I've been by there.
All right.
I've been by there one time.
Yeah. Bernard's been up here in North Philly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, he's in North Philly. He knows everything. There's no surprises.
Just curious. Did you?
I'm learning. I'm getting better. But
yeah, Bishop, did you see Will Smith?
Yeah, that's West Philadelphia.
That's West Philadelphia. I was wondering if he's been hiding in the last one. I saw he was in India. I don't know where he is now. He's where's Waldo.
You want to wear that man? Yeah. He's trying to hide out. He's trying to hide out.
Well, one thing I can tell you all about this draft, this leak decision, is that the prices on condoms is about to skyrocket. So that's another thing you might want. Okay. I wish I could have I didn't invest in that. But you know, at either rate, whether you support this side or not, we respect dialogue.
Yeah.
And everybody has a right to their opinion and to be respectful. Of course, when we talk about abortion and or same-sex marriage or anything dealing with politics in particular along those lines, race, religion, it's a sensitive issue. But I think tonight, even though I had a person called in who didn't support our opinion, and that was fine. But we had respectful dialogue, and I think that's what I try to aim for. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so we go live.
One last thing, and I'm sure Bishop Scott would agree with me. Forgiveness is for everyone.
Right.
Forgiveness, no matter
I
what
agree with
you've done, no matter what you've been through, you know, we've all made bad decisions in life.
Every
That's
one
the
of them.
greatest thing about the cross, that I can
Yes.
go there and get forgiveness and tell God about it and go on with my life, and no one can condemn you. But there's a lot of women who need forgiveness, and no one is certainly the pulpits must recognize that they have that forgiveness in Jesus Christ, and they can go
Amen.
on, go and sin
Amen.
no more. That's all.
That's right. That's right. Amen. I like that.
Sorry about that. Okay, I just want to get that in.
Well, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you for the invite, and I really enjoyed being with all of you. It was a great show.
God bless now.
God.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, guys, I guess I got disconnected with the groups. I don't know what happened, but please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Advertise with the channel if you'd like. Hit the Patreon. Subscribe to our Facebook page at Commonwealth Cause for more books on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., the destruction of due process in the United States. Also, please donate again. And you can check out our music, such as Video Soul, on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, as we always do, it is now time to get on up. We've been in here for 3 hours on a Tuesday. I didn't think it would be that long, but you guys be safe and be blessed. It's time to get on up and get on out of here. I'll holla. Peace.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll meet. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Across the room, and what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop, I'll do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll
feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up
and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the floor,
baby. Yeah, gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up. Baby.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.